Hey everybody, welcome to Weird Giraffe Games Day. And I just realized I don't have my sleeves on or my gloves. So hi. Anyway, uh, we're getting a little late start here. We had some technical difficulties. We had some difficulties. Just a bunch of stuff going on. But hi. Uh, Today is Weird Giraffe Day. It's the very first one that we are doing. We're just kind of trying this out. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different Weird Giraffe games. We are going to be playing some of them, including one of them that's not even out yet, with the creator, no less. You'll see that in the 1:30 block there, Dreams of Tomorrow and Dreams of Yesterday. Um, but first, let's introduce ourselves. I am Beth. I do customer service work here at Weird Giraffe Games, and apparently random stuff like running all day events. So like that I sign up for like at a fairly last minute. But yeah, so that's what I do. That also means that if you ever reach out to the help desk, to Kickstarter, to any of that kind of stuff, you'll be speaking with me and I will be resolving whatever kind of issues you have. So please feel free if you have any questions or issues or anything, absolutely do reach out about anything. I'm more than happy to help out. And Angel, what about you?
Hello, I'm Angel. um, at Weird Giraffe Games, I do a little bit of everything. Like if Carla needs something, she'll email me and say, "Hey, work on filling in this document or proofreading this or pulling quotes." So I enjoy getting the experience of doing new things a lot of times, but it has given me a nice behind the scenes education of a publishing company, and I enjoy that. I like learning new things and getting to not have the we used to work at a factory, so it's nice to not
Mhm.
have the exact same thing to do every day.
Yeah, yeah. I stapled that stuff together that you covered up. Like,
Yes, I did
woo.
upholstery, but it was nice that we got to work in the same factory together.
Mhm. Now we work in the same room, but just like apart from each other. She is way over there, in the other side of this living room from me, behind this wall and stuff. Um, so, uh, the plan here is to just kind of talk about what we're going to be doing today. Um, oh, pardon me. Angel and I are both sick, by the way. So I have cough drops. Not a sponsor, but I will be gobbling the heck out of these. Also, not a sponsor, but going to be using plenty of that too. Um,
Generic Pepto for the win.
oh yeah. So if you see me munching anything, it is cough drops. I'm not just like popping chips or anything over here. Uh, so we're going to be talking about what we're doing today until about 11:30, which is about 20 minutes from now, when Rochelle will be joining us. She is a longtime friend of both the company and of us personally.
Yay!
Um, We'll get more into that though, and we're going to be kicking off with Big Easy Busking. Big Easy Busking is the center of the show today. We are actually doing this a couple days before Mardi Gras because that's what Big Easy Busking is about. It's about New Orleans. It's about busking in the city and music, like the scene, everything else. Hey, my Fawny. Um, After that, we're gonna be taking a short break. That says 12:30. It's actually 12:45. I gave Chelsea, who made this image, and did an awesome job with it, especially since she did it like at like 11 o'clock last night because that's when I finally had all this stuff finalized. Um, we That's actually gonna be 12:45. But Jamie's so that Angel and I could take a quick little break and eat a little snack. But Jamie's going to be joining us. Jamie Daggers. She runs her own Twitch channel, which is daggers.tv. If you want to check her out, she does like miniature painting. She plays games. Yesterday, she played Hades for a long time. And like, I think that's awesome. I think that game looks fantastic. So, like, I love playing it, and I'd love to watch somebody else play it too. So that was fun. But she's going to be talking about Weird Giraffe Games art and her own art also, talking about some of that stuff and like her experiences here. At 1:30, we're going to be talking about Dreams of Tomorrow, which is a game that released a while back from Weird Giraffe Games before Angel Era started here. But then about 15 minutes later or so, Heather O'Neill will be joining us. She designed Dreams of Yesterday. And we're going to be talking about like her design experiences, like her process there, like what inspired her. And also we'll be playing a game of it. Dreams of Yesterday is actually going to be releasing on uh, and we're hoping for March 7th. That's tentative because we're still waiting to hear back from BackerKit. for verification. But we do have a link if you want to kind of like get notified when that happens. I've got that here. And that does like there is a countdown to March 7th, but again, it's not quite official yet. You will be notified either way though once that goes live. We're going to be playing that on screen top so you can watch what the game is like. And then at 3 o'clock, Jess, who also works here, is going to be taking like an hour to play Wicked and Wise with her husband on her channel. Angel and I won't be joining for that one. Jess is incredibly kind and taking over for us for a bit so that we can have a lunch, so we can chill a little bit. And then at 4 o'clock, when she's done, we'll be talking about Fire in the Library first, because that's the original game. And then Explosion in the Laboratory, we will be playing that on screen top also. Corey Andalore is going to be here. He's the one that designed Explosion in the Laboratory, but we're also going to have Rachel, who also goes by Harold Selene, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong, but she can fix that later for me when she's on. She does a bunch of like design challenge, or not design challenges. She has designed multiple challenges specifically for Fire in the Library, which she'll go into. And she's actually running a special 1-day challenge on that today, where you can just, if you play Fire in the Library, you can submit your scores and, like you see how that goes. After that, we are going to be moving over to Amanda Panda's channel, Panda Angel with an 8. I'm sure everybody's familiar with Panda Angel though. Like if you're here, you know her. Like if you know us at all, like if there's any knowing us, like you definitely know her. We're headed over to her channel where you're playing Gift of Tulips with her on Savantry. I'm very proud that I actually pronounced that.
Yeah,
right.
You said it right.
So yeah, we're gonna be playing that. It is actually free this month on Savantry. But we're gonna, because normally the games over there's a membership for it. You do get a free month trial, and we'll be sharing a month trial code also that you can use anytime to get premium membership. But it's kind of like a Board Game Arena, where if you are playing with somebody that has like the highest level membership, then you don't have to have it yourself. And if it's free like this, you don't have to have any kind of membership. So, but it's 3D, which is really cool. It's like a nice like program setup over there. And we're going to be doing that. And then finally at 6:30, we'll be coming over here. We are going to be talking about very briefly some future of Weird Giraffe Games stuff, some stuff that's being designed or developed at the moment. No guarantees what will actually be made or released there, but just some stuff like that. And we'll kind of recap everything. So if anybody ever has any questions about anything going on throughout the day, please let us know. We'll be happy to answer whatever, whenever. But very quickly, hi, Gen Cam, and hi, Bez. Bez actually just played her game with me on Board Game Arena. It's called Couple, and it's a really cool game. It's a cooperative game. This is not a Weird Giraffe game, by the way. But it's a really cool cooperative game where you're moving letters on cards between yourself and the other player. You get 2 actions per turn, and it's really neat because you can't move the cards around yourself. You have to kind of help each other do it. And to win, you have to have exactly the same score as your like co-player. It's a really neat game. It uses a deck that Bez actually came up with also.
That sounds fun. I really like word games.
Yeah, we definitely need to play it sometime. I actually had it like on the back burner for when all this stuff was done, because like the last couple days have been absolutely ridiculous. So,
yeah, a little bit.
So we are looking forward to playing that together. But and it's your birthday time. I usually point that out, by the way. Random fact: Angel was born on November 16th. So just every once in a while, if I look down and I notice it's 11/16, I'm like, hey, it's your birthday time. So it is Angel's birthday time right now.
That's really sweet. Yeah. I always like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny though, because like mine's 6:15, and I never ever see 6:15 on the clock anywhere, but I see 11:16 somehow.
Yeah, you bring that up a lot, and it's like, wow, it's cool that you always catch that. But like, yeah, I never.
And I don't look out for it. I just happen to be like, I finished the sentence and I look down and I was like, oh.
I guess we have 2 opportunities to see that, like because we get up late and we stay up late. So like 6:15 in the morning isn't something we do. So we only have one chance in the evening, and
that's true. And
maybe that's why you twice as much opportunity to see it.
That's true. I'm gonna have to set an alarm now. Be like, it's my birthday.
Okay.
I'll have to like get like a happy birthday like alarm, and like
happy birthday time.
this is what you can expect out of today because I'm gonna have all these blocks that are really long, and we're just gonna fill it with random junk because that's that's how we do it. But yeah, that's a good point, Bez. No relationship with Weird Jeff Games yet, and you never know. Like Carla has told me at some point that like it's my job to find games to publish. So like, I can throw that away. Like it's cool. Obviously, I can't promise anything. It's not my decision, but like I do think it's really neat to be able to just be like, hey, you know what, this game was cool, and you should check it out. Like, and not just like let's play it. So.
That's a
Um,
good segue to the fact that there is a letter game in the works
oh yeah,
already. Like, so that's something that we'll be talking about probably in the recap. Um, that's starting to get worked on as well. So
yeah.
we're excited to get a spelling beach.
Yep.
Um, yeah, we're excited to get a word game in there with Weird Giraffe.
Yeah, like we both love word games. Angel always beats me at them like every single time. Kind of like when Bez and I played couple. Bez basically had to do all the work for that game and kind of tell me like what the good moves were because I'd come over and be like, I see a 3-letter word. That's it. And like we will lose because you can't play 3-letter words anyway.
Which is funny because you used to do that word of the day, the $1,000,000 word, where you put out a fancy word every day, and that was really cool. I found that like nice to be able to, gamify that like word a day calendar thing because it made it cuter with a little cartoon and fun facts. So
That was cute.
yeah, you have a very big vocabulary. You just like 3-letter words when you're playing
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, they're easy and quick. Like boom. Bez asks if Spelling Beats is on Board Game Geek yet. I don't think so. It is still early development. The last that I know of, and literally everything I say about this game is going to be like, it subject to change
It's
because it's still
very
early
early, yeah.
development. But it just went from a 52 card game to a 104 card game most recently. Because originally the idea was it was kind of one of those like you can play it I think with like up to 3 if you have one deck or you can buy 2 and then you have that but
Yeah,
Angel and
and
I
it started
especially.
out a different theme too, so it's a different theme now and a few other things, so it's really in the beginning works, but
Yeah,
hopefully.
Angel and I like our games to be a little longer anyway, so like we're happy about more cards. We have not tried it yet. I don't remember when that was last discussed, but I know it's been a while since there's been a lot going on with Carla anyway. We've had fulfillment issues, we've had Carla ended up moving suddenly, just a bunch of stuff going on. So
Yeah, I do believe that was maybe in November. There was a con that they were testing it at,
oh yeah,
so
that's what it
yeah.
was. Okay. Yeah, we got sent the print and play files, so we were able to print it and copy it. Print it and copy it. We printed it and
And played
cut
it.
it, and yeah, we played it. Which like yeah, like I said, we love word games. It was really cool to play one from Weird Giraffe. Um, I think that's one of the cool things about Weird Giraffe. In fact, I had this whole segment idea of like us talking about why we work here, but we both have already talked about it anyway. One of the cool things about like being fans of Weird Giraffe Games before we started here because like I used to back everything and it's weird that now I'm not allowed to because like I work here. But is that like we get excited when she's like, "Hey, I got a word game." It's like I think I especially and I think Angel did too. Like we kind of jumped on her about that one as soon as she mentioned it, and
Like, "Oh,
so
we wanna play test that one."
yeah, exactly. So then she sent us what she had and we play tested it. So that was fun. Um,
And it's so cool seeing the different evolutions of a game, through the playtesting and the developing and that kind of thing. Just being able to see it from a different theme and then changing that and adding cards and taking it away until they are, the most optimal. It's just a awesome experience seeing that we like designing our own games, like TTRPGs and small things and working on some things too. So it's been a nice education and seeing that, hey, things don't start out like with a bow on them and perfect and ready to play. They
mhm.
definitely go through lots of evolutions like a butterfly and um, come out its best so that it gets on the tables.
Yeah, I think that's really neat too. And Yeah, I also just quickly want to touch on the fact that we're going to be playing Dreams of Yesterday and Explosion in the Laboratory. Both of those are going to be on Screen Top. The Dreams of Yesterday one would not exist without Zoe, who was here in the chat a bit ago. Zoe guided me through doing almost all of it, and then showed me a bunch of other stuff on there too for future games. But that was really fun. And so yeah, that literally wouldn't exist without Zoe's help. The other one was actually made by Corey, so I can't take any credit for that one. But there's that. And Rochelle's here. I'm going to be adding her here in just a second, but I'm at least literally giving her some kind of warning that I'm going to be adding her, so she's not just like thrown on the screen. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Big Easy Busking, or we're going to be talking about Rochelle, and we're going to be talking to Rochelle about both of those things. So hi, Rochelle.
Oh, hi. Okay, caught me. Good thing I stopped picking my nose.
Yeah, I was trying to get you in the middle of it, and I just missed. So, whoops. So hi, Rochelle.
Hey.
Let's. Well, wow. I have a whole I spent like 6 hours last night coming up with what exactly I'm going to do, and I haven't looked at my notes at all yet. But anyway, Rochelle, why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Okay. Hi, I'm Rochelle.
Hello.
Oh, more.
It didn't work for me when we streamed last time.
Let's see. I am a.
You're an awesome artist.
Oh, well, thanks. I wasn't going to say that, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll throw it in there for you.
I was going to say I'm a fledgling.
A good friend.
Okay, yes. Yes. And fledgling game designer, software developer by day to pay the bills.
Paying the bills is nice.
Yeah, it helps sometimes. I mean, how else are you going to buy games, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially all these weird draft games. Like, keep doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, you've been ridiculously supportive of our like releases too. But like Angel and I make games as Beth and Angel make games, and like Angel said, they're mostly like TTRPGs or just small print and play things. And Rochelle is always like right there to be like, "Hey, this is great," and like grabbing our stuff. So it's super appreciated.
Oh yeah, more stuff the better.
Yeah, I think that's how it works. I'm pretty sure that was the saying, quantity over quality.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, and I've absolutely played every single game I own.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Like I'm sure, especially even the ones you've made. Like definitely, we've played everything ever.
Oh yeah, totally. I have no shelf of shame.
Yeah,
entire shelves, maybe. I mean, no, nothing.
No, of course not. And yeah, I've got where I have like 12 different tabs up right now, but I just want to throw that up there. Zoe says, Rochelle is so humble. I'll stumble across her amazing art. And I'm like, you do art, you do awesome art. And yeah, that's exactly it. Like, because
thanks, Zoe.
Wait, Ainsley, you disappeared from the screen somehow. I'm sorry. Are you there, Angel?
Yeah, I messaged like, "Hey, I fell out. Add me back."
Oh, I see. Yeah, I did see it. Sorry, I was flipping between a bunch of stuff because I was getting Rochelle's link. But yeah, I totally agree with Zoe. It's one of those things like it's cool to have friends who can do things, but like having friends that are actually good at doing those things, you don't have to be like, "Oh, you're so good at this. This is great. You should keep going." Like I swear, like anybody who sings, like anybody like who's like, "I'm a great singer," and then you hear him singing, and you're like, "Yeah, that's really cool."
Yeah, I won't subject you to that.
Yeah.
I promise. No
Likewise.
singing.
This is Rochelle's itch page, by the way, if anybody is curious about checking out her games, because they're awesome as well. Like again, I've absolutely played every single one of them, and they're all great. I have read over and looked at them at least because
if you want something super cute, I went to 100 Acre Woods. Is adorable.
One of them online, so that was.
And yeah, I went to 100 Acre Wood. Is amazing. I'm gonna throw that one specifically in here too.
It's so cute.
If I can, there we go. Yeah, it's in fact, it was actually that was a fun story anyway because like we've all done, and I went to once. I actually pasted that or posted that from the Weird Giraffe Games account. I don't care, whatever. And if that's the worst thing that happens today, we're doing great.
No.
So oh no, and an error occurred too. Cool. But anyway, it's on the screen. But yeah, I don't even know what I was saying now. But anyway,
oh yeah,
the game there is super
the gameception there, yeah.
Oh right, yeah. We all did one of these. I went twos in the past, and I think that's really fun that we've all kind of experienced the same thing. It's basically a hack of one specific system, and we've all kind of done our own thing with it. So How
that
is it
was a lot
only
of fun.
11:27? Like, I swear, I was like, an hour will be no problem to fill, and like we're already done. So have a great day, everybody.
That's it.
Well, we
Okay,
can
fine,
start
bye.
actually talking about Weird Giraffe on Weird Giraffe Day, though.
Why would we do that? Like, what?
Right?
Okay. No, seriously though, one thing I wanted to point out though, one of the reasons the Rochelle's here is because Rochelle actually found Weird Giraffe Games Discord server and us because of Big Easy Busking. Why don't you go and tell us that story, Rochelle?
Yeah, I had come across Big Easy Busking,
I like Biggie
not Biggie
busking better.
Busking, a different
Biggie
game.
Busking.
Um, uh, I was trying to remember this morning, like where I first stumbled across it, and I'm not sure. I think it was through one of those, just some game list I was reading on Board Game Geek, and I thought, oh, this sounds like a pretty cool game. I'd like this. And so I went to the website and put in an order, and then didn't hear anything for a little bit. And I will preface or add in that this was like right in kind of the height of the pandemic, right in the thick of it. So everything was kind of, off the rails.
Everything on fire, yes.
Yeah. So eventually I ended up, I had ordered specifically the deluxe version because I don't know, I like cool little things.
Yeah.
And didn't hear anything, and eventually I ended up signing up to the Discord because I figured, oh well, I'll just quickly pop in there and see what's up, and kind of see what the state is. And because it turns out, because I live in Canada, there were like shipping issues at the time, again, pandemic. And so that's what had happened there. But that's kind of what led me to the Discord, and then meeting you and Angel and everyone else there, and lots of things came out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of helped what get me into game design. This probably won't be everyone's experience with the game, but it's also, because of that whole path of game to Discord to, meeting you and some of the other people and talking and whatever, there's the whole figuring out my trans identity.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to be everyone's experience. Piggy,
We'll see.
I'm guessing.
Come on by and we'll find out. Like, yeah.
But it's been a whole thing, and so I ended up ordering it. Managed to find a copy in Canada, but sadly it was of the non-deluxe version. But then a very awesome person hooked me up with the deluxe parts later, which made me really happy because now I get the little. I don't know if you can.
Gator meeples.
Yeah. Gator meeple.
Yes. Those are awesome. I'll be touching on this a little more detailed in a bit, but Angel and I came up with a campaign mode, like 3 challenges for Big Easy Busking, unofficial, of course, obviously. Nice. But I had to, we had to test it out, of course. And using the bot, a lot of times it gets beyond one set of meeples because it's putting so many out. And so that was like, Angel and I played. I would use the you could see them on the screen here. I used the saxophones, the yellow because it's closest to orange we're gonna get. Angel used the fleur-de-lis. They are purple. And then I went the gators for the backup for the bot because those are just so fun. They look kind of like carrots, but they're not.
Yeah,
they are
green, toothy carrots.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Angry carrots. I guess so. You have danger rope as snakes. So now we have angry carrots.
Angry carrots are.
There you go. I was listening to a YouTube review to pull quotes the other day for Big Easy Busking, and the people that were doing the review had a little bit of an accent. So in the captions, it said instead of fleur de lis, it said flower dollies. So it's like, I don't think that's quite fleur de lis, but flower dollies works. So now I see those and I think flower dollies.
I had to learn the other day when I was typing out the campaign mode that fleur de lis is hyphenated. So at least I got it right there when I posted it. But for anybody that's not able to hear that too great. Flower dollies apparently is the new fleur de lis because that's what the captions say, and captions are always right.
Yes.
Oh, I'm having an issue. I'm going to pop right out and be right back. I promise.
Okay.
Sorry.
We let you back in. Haha. No.
Yeah. I'll hide you from the screen too.
Oh, okay.
Just like wave when you yeah. Okay. She actually left, so I don't have to worry about that anyway. So anyway, yeah, flower. Okay. Oh, flower like FLOUR.
Yeah, which is even funnier.
Wow. Yeah, because like flower, at least fleur de lis is like flower, so like that makes. I think that's. I don't know. Anyway, whatever it is, but that was very quick, Rochelle.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Angel for some reason. I had that once before and had to restart.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, Angel actually, when we started this, we started a couple minutes late because Angel.
All my fault.
And like it just was like this really loud, like it was like if you put your ear against the refrigerator while it's running, and then like crank the volume up to like 170.
Really
like it
weird
was just
buzz.
so loud. Like so, yeah.
Pleasant.
And I couldn't hear it, so I couldn't fix it because I couldn't even hear it. So
Yeah.
my brother was still sleeping, and I'm like, headphones, need them, get them.
Yeah.
Now.
Yes, exactly. Like this instant. So yeah, but that's what I get for not buying headphones for the last like month when I said I was going to because we desperately needed them. So all my fault. But I do have on the screen here Big Izzy Busking Deluxe. Big Izzy Busking Deluxe is 29 normally. Actually, normally 45. It's on sale for 29. But if you use code Deluxe Me, then you can get it for 25, which is the same price as the standard game
On sale. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, on sale,
Nice.
regular price of that. That is but yeah, that comes with the game. It comes with the custom meatballs. It comes with a mini expansion that includes 3 extra cards in it, song cards, that is. And it comes with custom sleeves too, which is like cool because then like the backs of all of them have that. Yeah, just like that, exactly. So then you don't have to worry about getting like your food dust or my sweaty palms on cards and ruining them forever, like I used to with Magic the Gathering cards. So like, yeah. Because that game is like sweat inducing anyway, like especially when you play to keep cards. But anyway,
I also posted a link for the Mardi Gras bundle they've got going on because it's a really nice deal as well.
Oh yeah,
you can get Big Easy Busking French Quarter, and then the deluxe upgrade that has the sleeves and the meeples for $29, and then you can add on different games, making the bundle different price. But all in, it's $69, and you also get Stellar Leap Frontiers, Dreams of Tomorrow, and Dreams of Tomorrow Awaken. All for $69. So that's a really great deal, and we're doing that for Mardi Gras. It will run through February.
Thanks. Okay, so that's even something I didn't know. I knew that was running. I did not know when it was, because that's the thing about Angel and I handling different things. Like I get the questions, but Angel puts the information out there in the first place, doing like newsletters and stuff. So that's cool. It is nice that I don't do everything. It's funny because like I feel like I do everything, and then Carla like mentions 3,000 other things that she does or the other people are doing.
Like in one day.
I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like what? It took me like 4 hours to do this thing. How did you do that and like 10 other things combined? Like I don't understand. Plus you're answering all my emails that I send all day. So okay, so I guess we'll go over the campaign mode, which I have all these links, and it would be nice if I actually prepped them and actually had them on the screen. But who needs that?
We got to play test this the other day, so it was nice to stop and actually play a game.
Yeah, it was. This you can grab this for free. It is again because it's unofficial. Like it's not like I can sell it anyway, but it wouldn't sell it anyway. It is basically a story campaign. This very short one, 3 games, 3 different challenges. You can play these either multiplayer or solo. We tested them each both ways. So we spent a lot of 2 days ago. I was kind of really burning out on setting all this day up anyway, so it was nice to do something different. This is a digital version, which I tried printing, and even on our like fairly nice printer, like it looked terrible.
It's so pretty and digital, but yeah, you print it and it's just you do not get all those subtle nuances. It just looks like blobby black.
Yeah, it's just dark black with like barely any feathers on it. If you use higher DPI, maybe it'll work. But there is also a printer-friendly one.
If you want to use all your ink, you can do the higher DPI.
Yeah. Or get HP Instant ink like we do, and then you don't have to worry about it because like you can just print a black page like 100 times if you want to, and it's the same amount.
Let it print. Woo!
Yeah. So the premise of this is that you are visiting New Orleans. You and your bandmates are invited by a family member to visit the city at the beginning of carnival season, or carnival, depending on how you want to pronounce that. I discovered recently while I was doing this that I guess that starts in January, and then like it usually runs all the way through Mardi Gras, which is anywhere between like this time it's like February 20th, I want to say. No, it's Tuesday, the 21st. All the way through, like it's even been like the beginning of March sometimes, just depending on how things like.
Yeah, because it falls differently with Easter because it's Fat Tuesday.
Yeah. I actually wanted to call Challenge 3 Fat Tuesday, but I was like, I don't know. I stuck away from that term, but like, yeah, it's actually an official name for it. It's called Fat Tuesday.
Yep.
Like, that's kind of the whole point of Mardi Gras. At least that's what I heard when I was growing up. Is that like you kind of like, because it's before, like I grew up Catholic, so it's before Lent, where you have to give up something and like you eat. Like
we'll just call it Indulgence Fest.
Yeah, there you go. So you kind of like get all the good stuff in beforehand. So this is 3 challenges. Each one has different alterations to how you play it, or the scoring, or both. This first one is you are arriving in town. It took no time at all to realize just how alive the music of the city felt. Regardless of the instrument someone used, what emotion they were capturing, or where they were, you couldn't help but feel captivated every time you passed by somewhere and heard some music. You've always been able to play music, but it was time for you to learn to let the music move through you. So the premise here is that you are trying to learn songs. Learning songs is almost more important than anything else in this version of it, because you're new in town, you're learning the music of the area, things like that. It's kind of immersing yourself in the culture. So your score, instead of it being your normal like dollar amount at the end, rather than totaling up money at the end of the game, you total up points. The same goes for the bot if playing solo. You get 2 points per song that you've learned, including your player songs you start with. You get 1 point per majority token. Those are earned. I haven't even talked about how big as Busking is. Okay, so it's an area control game where you play music using energy from your bandmates to play songs. And then you can either play all of that music or all of the energy onto the area, or just some of it if it's a matching mood. Each one of them has a mood token that gets put onto it. So you're trying to match those, because you'll actually earn money too if you do match it and you put all your energy on there. But after the end of each round, whoever has the most energy on a location gets like the majority bonus. That is called the first place payout. There's also something called the crowd threshold, which is basically like, so if a location has a crowd threshold of 2, that means as long as you have 2 energy on there, even if every single player has 2 energy on that location or more, everybody gets a certain amount of money, the threshold payout amount for being there. So in this version, you are focusing on learning the songs. You get majority tokens in the main mode also when you win that majority of a location. So you just kind of keep these little tokens, and you get those at the end. If you play it like I do, or like Angel does, because we both throw them in front of us, and like it almost looks like a little beaded, necklace kind of thing. Anyway, and then you get 1 point per $5. So in this mode, money is actually less important. You're wanting to spend that to buy and earn new songs instead. And then for solo, normally you get a random ability song. These ability songs let you do different things, like you can move energy from one location to another. You can like just learn a song for free, which is what this one does. You can choose on purpose that you may learn a song without spending energy tokens as a free action, as your one ability song that you get for this mode. Because you're playing against a bot. The bots a lot of times are very quick and difficult. I personally tested with the Moody bot, because while it throws all of its energy on a location, whereas the other ones don't always, it does only take half of a turn each time. It'll only play a song, or it'll put that energy on a location instead of both, which made it a little bit easier, but it still beat me when I tested it. So, but basically it scores the same as you do, which means it automatically starts off with 24 points because it starts with 12 songs. From there, there is the parade, which Angel came up with. After spending some time immersing yourself in the music and city of New Orleans, an opportunity to be part of a parade came your way. Well, it came everyone's way, but that doesn't make being a part of it any less fun or special. But you don't want to just take part in the parade yourselves. No, you want to convince other musicians to play and march along with you. You'll be playing your own songs, sure, but also many of the songs you've learned from around town. The only downside, you can't play the same song more than once. So normally in Big Easy Busking, when you play a song, you discard it. If you're trying to earn more songs, you start with only 3. If you only play 3 songs, you're gonna like have energy left, but no music to play. So you're trying to buy these new songs, and then you get those. You'll have them each round, because at the end of each of the rounds, there are 3 total. You get all the songs that you've played back in your hand. The adjustment to this mode is that you do not get those songs back, but you start with all of them. Score adjustment is that you score as usual, but you add $1 per energy on each of the face-up player songs or ability songs in your discard. Oops, I shouldn't have said ability song. That should be starting song. So okay, yeah, cool. Already a typo. Yes.
And hi, Jamie.
Oh, hey, Jamie. I haven't looked at chat in forever. Okay, so yeah, you're trying to basically, the goal here is to play all of your songs. You only have 2 rounds to do so. Normally you get 3 rounds. This time you only get 2. So you're wanting to play these songs, which means playing the energy that you have very carefully. Once you've put energy on a location, it's there. You only have 15 energy total. So you can't just change your mind later, or like move it from like your drummer to your saxophone player, unless you've done something special to do that. So you are very limited in your energy here. You have to kind of plan your turns out, but also you're still trying to win those majorities, because you earn money from majorities, from, those threshold payouts. And then to make up for that, all of the hit songs are dealt amongst players equally. So like when Angel and I played, actually, it was funny because I ended up with all the songs that were only like 2 energy to play. And Angel ended up with all the wild ones that cost 5, but they give you a bonus generally when you play them, because they match all the moods. So it ended up being really interesting that like it was very offset, but it still worked out really well. In fact, I think you won, Angel.
Oh yeah, I kicked your butt.
Okay, yeah, you really won.
Yeah, because those were a really good advantage. I had like 4 or 5 wilds, so.
But I'm amazed you managed to play them all, because that's tricky. Like I didn't even play all
Yeah,
my
it was
songs.
really
Like,
tricky.
I had 1 left, and I didn't but then to make up for the fact that there are no songs available for purchase in the Melody market, you're basically like the shop of the game where you're buying songs. All of the ability songs come out instead. Those get put out. You can
Actually, I think there was
use
only
any of them.
Sorry, 3 wilds. Now that I think about it, but it felt like a lot.
I think there are 3 wilds, but still, like
Yeah.
that's 5 energy compared to 2 for mine.
Mm-hmm.
Then the gameplay adjustments here, the main things are that when you play a song, if you play all of the energy on a location, you play the song face up in your discard. Otherwise, you play it face down. At the end of the game, you get points based on the face up cards only. So like the face down ones are no good. They earn you nothing. But it allows you, like if you play that wild card on a location, you the benefit of playing and not putting all of your energy there is that when you take back however much as you want, you have to play 1 at least, but you can take the rest of it back and you put it on anywhere you want. So even if a song required like 3 drumming energy and nothing else, you can take that back and you could put like 1 on your saxophone player or 1 on your trumpet, because that's what you need for your next song or whatever. So it's still strategic there, but like you are missing out on those bonus points for doing it that way. And all the ability songs have a cost of 1. Normally they start with 1, but then they become 2 afterward. And that's still the case here. But because there's only 4 standard tokens, since the game's only meant to be played with 3 of these songs at any given time, you just place those on there when you get them. The solo mode here is where it gets interesting, though. I played this one a couple times, like 3 or 4 times, actually, because I was trying to fine tune it. You have to use the Moody bot. This is the only one I specifically say use that Moody bot, because it has the ability to learn songs, too. If you're not being careful, if you don't have any majorities, or rather, I'm sorry, if it has all of the majorities, it will not take a turn as normal. It will just steal a song. So in this case, it's taking one of the ability cards and it's just throwing it in its thing for bonus points. You get all the hit songs yourself. The robot does just has the 12 songs it starts with. If you're playing a medium or higher difficulty, when you're done figuring out the majorities in round 2, you place all of your unplayed songs face down. And then for each mood token you've earned, again from majorities, you remove the topmost face down card from a discard, basically negating any cards you didn't play or you didn't play all the energy off of, and then any of them still face down give you negative points. So it's really important you play all those songs as much as you can. And then on advanced or higher difficulty, once you've passed on round 2, the bot just keeps playing all of its songs. So like you can't just finish early and win. You have to like play it all the way through. I thought that was a nice touch. It kicked my butt when I did that, but it was winnable. It did win. And then challenge 3, I think, was the one Angel I had the most fun with. It's the big day. Basically, literally just it's Mardi Gras, have fun. Most of the stuff is doubled. So when you earn majority payouts, they're doubled. When you put up the mood tokens, those are randomized per location. Instead of putting 1 out, you put 2 out. So if one of them is like a wild and the chill token, which is the mask, then like if you play a chill mask like thing there, you get $2 instead of 1. So it just makes it much more likely you're going to match moods, and much more likely you're going to earn extra bonuses. You're also almost definitely going to run out of money tokens in this mode. There's like $120 or $130 worth of those in there. And normally if you play a game, there's way more than enough. But in this one, you're going to run out. I can pretty much guarantee it. So just write that down. We were originally playing with the idea of like you steal money from each other when you run out, or like it's just like the town's out of money, but that's not the case. It's Mardi Gras. There's excess. Like just write it down. But then also you play with the Mardi Gras variant, which means all like more ability songs are out, but they all cost 2 all the time because it's hopping right now. Like so that's and for solo you have to earn at least $50, because when I played the first time I had like 30 something and I was beating the bot and I was like I can just pass in the first round of round 3 and be done. Like I win. So I had to change that. But yeah, that's what I did. So yeah, everyone's free to play that anytime. It's the link is here. And oh my goodness, there's been a lot of chat. I'm so used to us doing like our normal thing where like one person will comment in like a half an hour. So to actually come back to chat is awesome. Yeah, actually, Angel covered that. Bez asked if there are any Weird Giraffe games on BGA, and Gift of Tulips is in beta. We are very much hoping to get more stuff on there since that one is working out pretty well. But for right now, I'm working on getting everything on Screen Top because Tabletop Simulator had some really crappy stuff going on, and so we're getting away from that. Internally, we still use it where necessary, like to kind of like learn a game or something, because we have all of our games currently on TTF. But I am like it's high on my list of things to do to like move all those over. And again, Zoe was super helpful and showed me how to do all that. So, and also Zoe was I don't want to say brave enough maybe to accept the challenge to help out in the future on more games. So that'll be fun too.
Fez did post a link to Board Game Arena saying that they started a real-time table of Gift of Tulips if anybody wants to hop in on that.
Oh, cool. Awesome. We will actually be playing that on Stop Entry later too at 5:30, I want to say. I have so many tabs open. I'm sorry. Is to 5:30. Yeah, on Amanda Panda's channel, which is twitch.tv/panda8ngel. Panda Angel with an 8. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Caught up.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to giving
Nick's here too. Hey, Nick. You're looking forward to what?
Oh, sorry. No, all good. Given this, the campaign you made ago, especially like, and I don't think I mentioned this before, like the solo mode. That's kind of one reason I like Big Easy Busking 2, because again, the aforementioned pandemic thing, my game group kind of fizzled out, and my partner isn't as big a gamer. So games that have good solo modes are a huge plus, and that's actually something like Weird Giraffe in general I enjoy. Like most of the games have solo modes and they're all really good, the ones I've played.
I think that's really cool too. In fact, it's funny because I always used to say that like Carla does solo modes, not only solo modes for Weird Giraffe Games, but also for like other people's games sometimes too. Like if people, are making a game, like they can contract Carla to make the solo mode because she's just really, really good at it. And I always say that like Carla's really good at that, but I've never played one of them solo. And so like now when we were playtesting that, I got to do so. And it was really cool. It's interesting because Big Easy Busking comes with 3 different bots and 5 different difficulty modes for each of them. And I really like that each of those difficulty modes is just a slight increment. Like easy mode doesn't earn like money when it does a specific something, and then like normal is just the normal rules, and then like you have advanced or medium advanced, I believe is the next step up. So each of the things just add one little thing. So you can, like I played the Moody bot on normal when I played, and I beat it. But I bet if I played it against, like the professional mode is the hardest one.
I just love the names of those bots anyway. Moody bots, just fun.
I know, they're great.
Yeah, I think Moody Bot's awesome too, because like it's funny because I typed it out for each of them like as my recommended for the 2, and then definitely the requirement for the 1. And I just thought it was funny that like, yeah, of course the bot's gonna be moody against me because like I'm also moody most of the time. So I think that's fair. Also, just wanted to point out that Carla is here in chat using Stellar Nick's account. That is because StreamYard, I wanted to call it Screen Top again. StreamYard makes me sign in as Weird Giraffe Games to use it, and so she can't be on that account. So, so there's that. But hi, Carla. It is awesome seeing you here. I didn't know that they were based on song difficulties. That makes sense.
Well, yeah, the different songs have different names too, and then or like the genres of them.
I thought that was neat.
And they can definitely kick your butt too. I'm just really bad. Probably a little both.
Carla's bots mean business.
But in a fun way still.
Yes. Not so much that they annihilate you from existence.
No.
They just make you feel challenged.
Definitely challenge.
Yeah, it's not Codenames Duets. It's
Oh, that's sad for us.
It's not Terminator Big Easy Busking.
Yes. It's not Biggie busking.
Yeah, it's not Biggie busking.
I love that.
Oh, cool. Carla says that the names were contracted from people in Louisiana. That's funny because like when I was coming up with the this challenge mode thing here, I was looking up like slang from New Orleans, and like there was some cool stuff, but I really was hesitant because like I was worried the website was like, pulling my chain, and I was gonna like throw all these like phrases out here, and then people are gonna like, what are you even talking about? Nobody actually says that. It's just like, that's what people think we say. So like, I just come off as even more of a poser because of that. So I avoided them. But I think that would be super fun.
I was watching a video the other day on Big Easy Busking Deluxe, and someone said, interestingly, this is probably the only game that exists where you can play as the state of Louisiana, and that's pretty awesome. I just thought that was so funny.
That's true. Let me head back over to. Oh, of course, that's not on that. Yeah, it is there. Okay, yeah. The one of the meeples when you get the deluxe version is indeed the state of Louisiana right there. It's the black one.
There we go.
So it's a little difficult to see, but the light is there also. So yeah, state of Louisiana. That's what that shape is. It is not like a paint gun. It is not an airbrush. It is a state of Louisiana. For like, it's funny because it's one of those things. I know Carla has said a few times that like people get confused with this game because like they're not familiar with New Orleans or like Mardi Gras or that kind of thing, especially like if you're from another country or you just like, you don't like, I feel like Mardi Gras was bigger, like at least countrywide or at least in Chicago, like when I was younger, and now I don't really hear anything about it. So like, I don't know, maybe that's just like, there's so much in the world now, we're all internet connected that like, having something going on in the same country is like, whatever. But yeah, so like, it's interesting that people don't even know, like, that's a fleur-de-lis, which is like, like a very important symbol for them. Like, I think that's to do with Louisiana itself too, or New Orleans. I don't remember exactly. I used to know that. I used to even know what fleur-de-lis meant.
I think it came from their French origins. So
yeah. And gators, because it's like you get eaten by gators when you go down there. Pretty sure that's a guaranteed thing. or maybe you can get one as a pet. One or the other. You either tame
Right.
it. It's like Avatar, the movie. Like either you tame it
Tame
and,
it or
and you
lose a
win, or
limb.
yeah, exactly, one or the other. You don't need all your limbs anyway. Like I'm sure you got to look out for those angry carrots.
That's right.
So, yeah, that's a good point too. I was along the Mississippi before, and now I'm not. So actually, I guess we're kind of because we're still close. But yeah, Carla made another point too that this goes for Big Easy Busking, which I was going to prep all this stuff and have it nice and actually have the rule books in front of me and stuff. But of course I didn't do that. But like the rule books that she does a lot of times will have cool facts or just really thematic. Like I have Dreams of Tomorrow in front of me. And this one actually comes with a whole separate dream journal book that has like, details about what the abilities are, what the things and stuff, but also has like cooler backstory and stuff to it. I just love that happens. Like if you see the Gift of Tulips one, there's actually a whole like page about like from Carla about. Whoa! Oh, did he just throw Big Izzy Busking to me?
That's a big gate there. So.
Mardi Gras is in the air.
I thought a gator was getting me. Like that's stop.
Hey, your carrots, look out!
Yeah. Okay, Carla's.
That was a lot further drop than I thought.
Well, you're really tall, so it doesn't seem as long for you. I don't.
Oops.
You're an angry carrot too because you're so tall, and it sounded angry. Carla says you eat gators in New Orleans.
Oh,
it's like chicken.
that's true.
I refuse to believe that anything is like chicken.
No, we a while ago we took a trip down there. My partner and and I had gator kebabs.
Oh, really?
And it did.
That's awesome.
I lived in Orlando for 11 years, but more south of Orlando. They eat a lot of gator. And my dad has had it, but I'm not as adventurous with the whole exotic meat situation. So I left that to them.
Yeah, I lived in Florida for a while, and we also had. I don't remember. I think it was gators down there too. Yeah, because it's the Florida Gators, so it has to be. Anyway, lived in Florida for a while, and my dad visited, and he absolutely was like, we went to some very Floridian restaurant that I'd never been to before, even though I lived there, and he ordered gator also, and my ex and I, and like went with him, and like neither one of us had ever had it, even though like he's the one visiting. Like you'd think that we would have it on a regular basis, but of course not. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that like he tried it. I have this thing where I just think like chunks of meat are just kind of gross anyway. Like I'm like vegetarian adjacent, pescatarian adjacent, because I'll still eat fish, but like, only if it's really breaded though. Like which they kind of do that in New Orleans too. They have all. I want to do some New Orleans food. Like that's what I want. Like we need to do a Big Easy Busking spinoff that's like street food. Or like just kind of the food of like the area. Then we have
there you go.
Big Easy Eating. Big Easy
beignets.
Yeah. There we go. That sounds awesome.
Carla was bringing up that Calvin Wong is great at the flavor text in the stories. Did Dreams of Tomorrow and Fire in the Library. I actually had the rule book out last night looking up a couple things just to make sure that we had terms right since it's been a minute since we played. And Carla was working on the reprint for Fire in the Library and actually reduced the rules a lot, but there is a lot of story in that rule book, and I love it. They both of them have really neat backgrounds, and there was one even that talked about in Fire in the Library the different books like history and war and why they had the books of war there. And it's like, well, so we, that doesn't get lost to history and we don't repeat the mistake, and then it said, one of the more important books was Fables because that's, what we're living. So it's kind of like a little meta thing that, that Fire in the Library is a fable. So it's in that book. So, or in that category. I really loved all of that, and Dreams of Tomorrow is even richer in those stories, so they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really neat too that like yeah, I mean it's I am very much the kind of person that like if I'm gonna have a rule book, it's like these are all the steps on how to play, and it takes up like 3 times as much in the rule book as Carla has in hers. But like, I think it's really cool that she not only manages to get the rules in there in a succinct way, and like also includes all that extra bonus stuff. Like, it actually inspired me when I did the last Let 'Em Dare to like make that one very like thematic, especially since there's a deck of cards anyway. So they use a standard deck of cards. Um, Carla pointed out in the chat here that she wanted to do Big Apple busking with the subway. Um, you have to time things as the subways change, which I think is really cool because like I grew up in Chicago and like I would actually just ride the subway for fun sometimes, like just kind of ride back and forth, and like that was before internet and phones and stuff. So like I had a flip phone that didn't do anything. I think for part of that, I don't remember. It's been forever. Who knows? But like I had a Walkman, like one of those like CD players, like like if you take a step wrong, like it
Yep.
skips and you like
skipping Discman.
Yep. Yeah, skipping the screens. So I just listen to some music and like work in a notebook, like either doing my homework or more likely just like doing some like video game design stuff before I knew how to code anything anyway. So it doesn't really matter, but it was still fun. And like it was just chill. And sometimes there would be somebody in the subway, like when you get on or off, that was playing some music. And I just thought that was really neat because like you're underground and the acoustics are like way different in there, especially with all the like noise going on too. So like it is true. It would be really important to time it where people are either getting on or off the subway, and B, like if you do time it that way, but you're just a little bit off, like nobody can hear you anyway because it's so freaking loud down there. So I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I like the idea of the Big Apple busking, like because I had thought about busking goes punk, like because punk is just so
Yes.
fun with the graffiti and the
Oh, yeah.
colors. So, like I thought that theme would be fun.
I think that would be awesome too. I would love a punk one. Which like I love punk. I don't know enough about punk. Like I want to know more about it, but like
Yeah.
the extent of mine is like The Offspring. and like like some of the bigger stuff from back then, but I know like one or two songs, not like a whole like album or anything. So but I think that music and that genre and that energy is just really cool too. I feel like it, like jazz, is very expressive, very energetic. Like even like I love metal, but like it's almost exhausting to listen to it too much because it's just so much screaming and stuff. Like, and it can energize you, and some of it does, but like a lot of it is just like
headbanger busking.
Yeah,
there you go.
headbanger busking. Yeah.
That's something I liked about Big Easy Busking though too, is there's a really nice playlist that they made on Spotify that goes along with it, and it's like nice, easy listening jazz. So you get a soundtrack to your playing experience, and you don't get that all that often with board games. So it's all curated right for you, and you don't have to do it.
Yeah, I think that's neat too. Although, like, there is something annoying to me that like either I'll spend like 6 hours putting together a playlist and then I'll skip through most of it anyway because it's not what I feel like listening to at the time, or like I'll just go ahead and do like a random one and I'm like, this isn't the song I want. Skip. Like I used to love Pandora because like if I listen to like if I'm not super focused on what I'm listening to, it works perfectly. Like I don't have to worry about like picking out new stuff or whatever. But like if I'm paying more attention, it's like, yeah, this song is okay, and then just keep skipping over and over again. So then you get ads all the time, and just maybe we need to do the corporate Big Easy busking where it's like it's the opposite, where you're like shoving ads in between the songs. Like that's the new bot. Like instead of like you're playing your song and then like yes, the bot's like throwing ads
tries
on
to
top
commercialize
of it.
your songs.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you actually like asking that, Angel, because I keep forgetting. Like again, I'm used to being the person that's either like not on screen because I was used to be too shy to do so, and I would just like live in the text chat, or like I'm used to not anyone being around, so I forget to even like ask questions of chat. But Angel did ask if anyone here has played Big Busking solo mode, and if so, what's your favorite bot? And if not, head over to the website.
Yeah, it's good. I like I think probably the following I've used the most often, although it also maybe I should try different ones more because it keeps kicking my butt.
I started using that one because I thought it'd be interesting on like which one was it? I think it was the Mardi Gras one that I did, the final one. I was considering it there, but like I just feel like it's gonna obliterate me because like it follows you all the time.
It's
like
rough.
and it does the same things that you do, except it has no limits to its energy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to waste time learning songs that like
Yeah, you have to plan real careful with that.
you do. It's like, yeah, and I take it back. Actually, I did play this game a long time ago with the solo mode, and I remember that it was like if you time it against one of the bots, it was either that one or the I forget what it's called, but the one basically that makes all the threshold bot. That's what it's called. One of those, if you time it just right, and you actually have to start like end the rounds sooner than you'd think. Like basically, you get the majority on like one or two, and then you hit the thresholds or whatever, and that's it. And then you just quit. You're out. And you just hope because especially if you're playing on like the harder ones, it'll play a song and finish the song that next turn, so it gets one more out. Yep. And if that's the wrong one, like you're in trouble. But like I think that's really interesting too. Like there is I always like games where you're kind of you can strategize, but you're also just dealing with what the game is giving you. Mm-hmm. Like here's the trouble, have fun with it, like figure out how to deal with that. And I feel like those bots do that really well. Yeah. Whereas a lot of games you can kind of know exactly what the bot's going to do. Like if I do this, then the bot's going to do that, and then I'm going to do this. And so like this works out, and you can just sit there for like an hour, like coming up with a puzzle solution. And you can't do that with Big Easy Busking and such. And especially with Dreams of Tomorrow. Again, I still have this like on my thing here. We'll be going into it more later, but Dreams of Tomorrow has the nightmare in it. And that really makes it difficult to strategize ahead of time. So I think that's super fun too.
Yeah, I like the ones where you can strategize a little bit. You don't get into the whole analysis paralysis thing. Because half the time, if I'm playing the game where you can get into that, I'll sit and think about it for forever and still screw it. Or forget. Or by the time I finish thinking it through, when it comes time to actually do it, I'm like, what was my plan?
Oh no, that feels like me on like Board Game Arena, where it's like it's your turn, and then like
what was I doing?
Yeah, and then like 3 hours go by, or you're playing against me, and a whole day goes by before I take my turn, and like then you're like, what was I doing? And like
it doesn't blend well with ADHD.
Yeah, exactly. I have to throw this out here. Carla says that nightmare is her favorite punch she's put into a game. I also think it's funny though. Angel, didn't you say like that was the first time you realized?
Well, Carla was talking about it in we were playing it on a virtual table, and she was talking about that, and I didn't even get it. Like she said it was her favorite pun on that, and I'm like, what pun? And it's the nightmare. And so my brain just wasn't clicking on that. And then I saw it like written down, and it's like, oh, the nightmare, like it's a horse. I get it. So it was literally that really dorky moment of, oh, like I've heard her say that like 4 times and never caught on. And it's like, it's clearly, right there, but it was hilarious that it took me so long to be like, wait, I get it now. And I'm laughing like days later at like, oh, nightmare, I get it. That's so clever.
Oh my goodness, this is one of those I can't remember the name of it now, but there's like a Mandela effect moments for me right here. I finally found it, but this is how I knew nightmare ahead of time. Is this Magic the Gathering card that's on the screen? It should be on the screen at least, I think. Yeah. I used to play Magic the Gathering a lot. I have no idea what that symbol is. It looks like that's supposed to be 4th edition, but they didn't use that symbols on it. Anyway, that's 6th, not 4. Anyway, but yeah, there's a horse called Nightmare, and it had really cool power to it. So it was something I always remembered. But I always thought that was called Nightmare, like the thing. And but also I wanted to throw out here, Bez says she thinks Game of Gift of Tulips. I always want to say that's Game of Thrones. Like literally every time I see GOT. Yeah.
It took me too long.
That might be the first thing she's ever played, and I think that's awesome. So like hooray for you getting introduced to Weird Giraffe Games today. That's perfect. Like my job's done. Have a great day, everybody. Like I use that joke way too often anyway. But yeah, Carla is right. There's actually a literal horse meeple in Dreams of Tomorrow. and I think that's amazing. Now I'm gonna have to find this thing and dig it out. I really need to organize my games a little better. I have dug into these things way too many times over the last few days, so I apologize for the mess I am going to be causing. But and we're gonna be going into this game later too, because we're gonna have Heather O'Neill, who made Dreams of Yesterday, on the stream. I'm not even finding it. Hey, there is a horse people though. Like, yeah, that does exist. Carla would know. I would be wrong, like, even if I did think that was wrong. But I know I've seen it in the rulebook, and like she put it in the digital implementation of something at one point. So, like, yeah, there's literally a horse. Oops. Me too.
I was gonna say Angel could just throw it at you.
Yeah.
She's actually got that over there. I would have.
Yeah, I have this one, and I have this one because we're going to be going.
This little horse people gonna donk you on the head.
Yeah. We're going to be talking with Jamie in half an hour about the art of Weird Giraffe Games, and those are the only two games I wasn't able to find really fantastic photos of online. Mostly because Dreams of Tomorrow, most of the images online. Actually, Angel found one anyway, so I'm not in that box. But most because a lot of those images are the prototype version, so the cards look a little different. But yeah, so that's cool. What's if either of you remember a like favorite moment from Big Easy Busking that you've played? Like something that kind of like either made you laugh or like of course the bot beat me at the last freaking minute.
Oh,
I honestly
definitely had a few of those.
Yeah. I honestly think mine is probably thanks for encouraging that, Carla. As my boss, I'm just gonna like claim health insurance.
I was gonna say, isn't that
if
gonna
she
be like
hits
a
me with
workers'
something-
comp issue or something?
Yeah, exactly. Encouraging violence over here. So when are we going to make a game about throwing things, Carla? Like, apparently that's going to happen. But I think my favorite memory of Big Easy Busking, honestly, at least recently, was just that new mode, because like it was so funny. Like, yes, Bez, Carla is our boss. Carla runs Weird Giraffe Games. I forgot to even say that. Yeah, Carla runs Weird Giraffe Games. We both work for her. I always say with her, even though she is our boss, but like, because it's weird to call her our boss because she's also our friend. But yeah, she is our boss. But yeah, it was really fun playing that mode because I really thought I had Angel beaten on the like doubling everything mode, and then she kicked my butt anyway. And like, it was funny totaling all the money up because like, yeah, we literally ran out and then like had to get more. I do think the one time I beat the bot though, like a long time ago, and I had forgotten about that until like you brought up about the bot beating you and stuff. That like that I did do that, and yeah, it was interesting because you have to play against the bot differently, and it's like really interesting to like you really have to make those moves count, and then like there's still a little bit of luck balance there, so like it works out. It feels great when you actually beat it.
We play all our games 2 players most of the time, so we haven't experienced Big Easy Busking at larger numbers. We'll have to pull that out for the family at some point. But I think that makes us a little more territorial with the different zones you're taking. So it's like, no, hey, you put more on there, it's mine. So you end up back and forthing that a lot more with playing 2 players, I think, than like picking a lane and staying in it. Like,
that's especially fun when you get the different power cards, the ability cards out, because like I said, one of them I remember was like you play the card and then the ability cards let you do something special once you've played that song, beginning your turn. And one of them lets you move 2 energy off of that place onto any other places you want. So like you can just be like, yeah, I'm gonna play all these here, and then like I'm just gonna move these so that I win these other majorities. Like, ha ha ha. But and it's interesting too because it's very much a game where you can see how much energy the other player has. Like, like if Angel has no energy left, like I've totally done that. Where like, in fact, we did that yesterday when we were playing. There was one point where Angel had like 5 energy on a card because it was like one of the wild ones, and I was like, oh cool, like she can't do anything else because she can't. She has like 2 energy. She has 1 energy left. There's literally nothing she can do. So I just put all my stuff on the one, and I forgot about the fact that she could take a lot of the energy back. Because the move match, and then she managed to do that, and she won that majority and another one. So
you're really good at using those other songs though with the powers on them. I always forget to utilize those as much as you do.
Yeah,
there's
like, there's one that's my favorite, and I use it every single time I get a chance. I'm probably not going to get it out while I'm talking here, but yeah, here it is. I did. This is actually the sleeved cards too, so you can see those. But this one says you earn $1 for every crowd card that currently has your energy tokens on it. So it costs 1 or 2 energy or money to play each of these when you do so. But in the last round, you have 5 different locations out. So if you do it just right, you'll get $5 for playing that song. Plus, you get to put some stuff out, and it's just really cool. You can play those songs more than once. So you could do like 1 at 3, 1 at 4, 1 at 5. Like and just like make all kinds of money, but like, they cost too. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Rochelle? Any?
Well, other than the first time I managed to beat the bot, I almost made like a little. I think prior to that, when I was just trying to figure it out and getting annoyed at my incompetence against the bot, I made a little game out of it has the cat token just as a little extra thing in there, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to find mine. Yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to see. Well, sort of. Anyhow, I was using that instead of one of my energy tokens, and I made it my goal to hang on to that particular token as long as possible and not let the bot put anything out where it was and steal my cat.
That's awesome.
That's fun that you bring that up, because we actually play with the tokens too, like the cat tokens. If we randomly draw them, then we put it onto the card as well, so you earn the extra one. So since it's kind of like a tiebreaker thing, like we're really trying to get the extra cat token, just because it's fun to have all the tokens too. So we put that on there. When I went to Israel, there was a lot of stray cats everywhere. So I just picture that as everywhere you go visit and check out, now that there's just cats everywhere. They had a bunch of stray ones, and this one cat posed in our group photo. It just came walking up and it parked its little butt in front of us, and it's in our group photo. But that just kind of reminds me of, hey, the cats are just hanging out with the buskers. And so it's fun to add those to the game and have it on the card. Like, hey, you get a random special cat too that you get to take home.
Exactly. And you kind of like, we were playing yesterday, and Carla pointed out that there's a Klaus token from Tumbletown, and that's what this is. This is actually the Klaus token. And we actually ended up with 2 copies of one of the games. So we actually have 2 of the bonus fluffins, which is what they're called on the punch things. And then there's the bonus Klaus too. So like we mix those up, and when we were doing the double everything mode last night, when we were testing it 2 nights ago, sorry. We actually got 2 of the cat tokens on one of them. And so we were both like, we need this one. Because we just, in the normal game, the majority tokens are only used as tiebreaker. So like if you both have exactly the same amount of money at the end of the game, whoever has the most majority tokens, the mood tokens, at the end wins. And so basically that's just acts as like you get a bonus one like that way. So like, instead of getting 1 mood token from one, you get 2, which is it's a cute little addition. We're still tossing around ideas for there's going to be way too many cats is going to have way too many meeples, way too many cat meeples, I think is what it's called. We call them meowples during the campaign, which I think you came up with that, Rochelle. I can't remember.
I can't remember
but like I know it's thrown around a lot. Yeah. And so yeah, we're trying to come up with when I say we, I mean Angel and I, but like I would not be surprised if Carla has a billion ideas already anyway. Just for general things to do with the meowples, the way too many cat meeples throughout all the other games. Like I really want to do for Big Izzy Busking, I want to do a band that's nothing but cats.
Yes.
And then they have a special ability where like when someone else plays music at a nearby music thing, like you can move one of your cats over, because cats love attention. So like
then the band leader has to be Josie then.
Yeah, that's true. Boom. That's awesome. Jamie here says, I think it should be a table rule that before playing any song card, you should be required to lead with and a 1 and a 2 and a while clicking your fingers. And I think so too. Like that, I think that's totally fair.
Hi, Time Roller.
Hey, Time Roller.
Oh, hey.
The stray cats is definitely fair.
I don't know about the clicking rule though. Deep dark secret. I can't snap my fingers.
I can kind of. But
well, you can clap your hands and make noise. What is it you can do? Beth can do something really strange, like where like she can clap her one-handed.
Oh, like the
Yeah, so there was an episode of The Simpsons we finally watched again that was like, what is the sound of one-handed clapping? And Bart's like, it's easy, it's this, and like,
yeah, there you go.
yeah, that's one-handed clapping. Yeah, you can totally do that. Like, but yeah, I just like for some reason I'm hearing that about the and a 1 and a 2, and I just feel like I need to wear sunglasses and like lean into the whole like smooth jazz part of it. Like my mom was really into smooth jazz when I was growing up, and so like heard a lot of Coltrane and stuff like that. And so yeah, you just need like a very dimly lit room and like just
you
some
say that
low
and
music and like
all I can think of is like Mike Myers in So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh yeah.
Like woman. And it's like this terrible poetry.
Yeah, it was like deep poetry. Yeah.
Yes. With a low light and the trumpet. Like
that's awesome.
See, now that's got me thinking of Shatner doing Rocket Man spoken poetry version.
Oh,
if you've ever
yeah.
seen that.
I forgot
think
about
I
that
remember
too.
that. Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
I feel like the pandemic brought that out in a lot of actors too, like some really wild extra stuff because they weren't able to go make their movies. They had to do their home stuff. It's like, oh, they're not getting the attention. We have to feed the actors now.
Jamie says bad poetry. Oh, noetry. I appreciate the love of puns since Rochelle here is like the master of puns anyway. That was one thing I really wanted to point out while you're here, Rochelle. Rochelle here has been our savior for like 3 months, 4 months. I don't know, however long, because we have a segment on our Monday game nights where we, if people can submit questions and we'll answer them. And like, aside from, I want to say like 2 or 3 questions, like this whole time, they've all been Rochelle. Like Rochelle will throw like 2 or 3 questions our way every single week. Like even without me asking, I'm just like, I throw the thing in like the Discord, which is weirddraftgames.com/Discord if you want to join us and hang out. But yeah, like she always has cool questions. In fact, it's become a running gag now that like even other people now will, if they submit a question, they'll say, am I Rochelle or not Rochelle or something else because Rochelle has done so in the past. Or, not Rochelle.
I made the mistake of Jordan's name was like, well, they're getting tired of seeing my name, so I'm going to put not Rochelle. But then the last one, what was it? Justin submitted one or a few, and he's like, am I Rochelle? And when that was read, because I watched it a week later, and again, ADHD memory, I was like, I don't remember that, but was that me? Am I? What? Kind of gave me a little existential crisis there.
Oh no!
So well played.
Yes. Angel, like Jamie here had said, I love puns. I'll die on the hill on birthday, Angel. I don't know why I read your name out entirely. And even though I haven't called you Angelique a single time yet, but Angel said, no, live well on the big hill of puns you built, reign supreme on that hill.
Yes.
It just reminds me of the whole, like, intend your puns, you coward. Like,
I love when Carla calls for puns and like we get started in the Discord. That's what makes the Discord fun. Everybody joins in. And we just have a big pun, thread going.
I think there were like 5 pages of, what was it, duck puns or something like that at one time?
Yes. Yes, because Carla made a game called Ducking Around.
Yeah.
Which I just always want to say duck around and find out also. But like, yeah, Carla made actually just a quick drop here. Carla, Angel, and I make TTRPGs together as Quirky Bird Games, which we'll go into a tiny bit more with Jamie here because we're going to be going over art. And one of the things I wanted to touch on was the art of Quirky Bird Game logo. But yeah, so Carla has made Carla is just a bird game person anyway. So Quirky Bird Games. In fact, Quirky Bird Games started off. Oh, thank you. I was actually headed to find that, but I keep talking, so I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I could tell with the cadence that you were talking that you're looking for it. So I was just helping you out.
Yeah, when I stop every 2 words, then like obviously I'm doing something else at the same time. But yeah, Quirky Bird Games actually started as a April Fool's Day joke, and then we ended up turning it into an actual side thing that we do. The 3 of us making TTRPs together. Just silly little fun things, like things to be hopeful about, things that kind of help us out personally. So maybe they'll help other people out too, that kind of thing. We also run a Patreon that I have not updated in 3 weeks. So, so there's that too. I actually meant to last Friday. We decided to start doing the Quirky Bird word, which Rochelle actually came up with the name for, another pun thing. We were trying to come up with what our like weekly update was going to be called, and the Quirky Bird word came up. So, was going to do that last Friday and say that we're doing it bi-weekly now because it's we had less news, but then like it's been 3 weeks instead. So in fact, today is 3 weeks. Exactly yesterday. Sorry, because today's Saturday.
You're
it's not
doing
Friday.
an AV version right now. So
yeah, there we go. Exactly right. Yeah, and there is going to be a lot to cover there too. So that'll be fun. And that's cool. Thanks, Bez. Bez says 3 weeks isn't that long. Once a month is still regular. I'm cool with that. In fact, Zoe actually does a really good monthly newsletter. Like we do a couple here with Weird Giraffe Games. We have been recently, and Angel does an awesome job with those. But Zoe's always done like a really, really cool like monthly one for as long as I can remember now. That kind of covers everything, and that's kind of what I try to emulate, except that I'm much wordier. So mine ended up being like 10 times longer with half the content, but hey, that's cool, it's fun, and that's who I am. So that's what you signed up for, and it's your fault, and you don't have to read it anyway. And yeah, Carla says we should switch monthly to Quirky Bird Games. I'm cool with that, because honestly the point of it anyway is supposed to be that we're sharing things as we go, and I haven't been doing that either. So like, basically Quirky Bird word, the Quirky Bird Games, we're going to be sharing all of our news and stuff over there, and that's free for everybody. I know it's Patreon, but that stuff's free for everybody. The paid things are just like getting our games as we release them. But yeah, it would make sense to just recap stuff once a month and then like just put the information out as we get it right away. So that's cool. And Carla made an interesting point here too, that 3 weeks isn't bad considering she randomly moved, had surgery, and got behind on stuff. But Carla's not the only one who's been behind. I literally just caught up on things very recently. And that's not going to be the case soon because I'm going to be taking a lot of next week off. So not a lot of it off. Like Carla, you don't have to cover for me anything. I don't take it that way. Just like I'm going to be taking more breaks. Although we do have like 6 streams lined up for next week too. So there's also that. So.
Yeah, that was you taking it easy.
I was going to say taking it easy, huh?
Yeah, and a lot of them are going to be interviews too, which we haven't normally done. It's always been like, hey, let's just play a game and like have fun, and then or like this, like just a casual chat kind of thing. So. But that's kind of everything breaks down anyway. Like here's 5 minutes worth of questions, and then let's just chat for an hour. So
there you go.
That's cool.
Yeah, I must say I'm quite glad you all ended up doing the Quirky Bird, because when you first came out as the April Fools, I was going to be really mad. I was like, a bird-themed game company? and then when there were rumbles, oh no, it was April Fools. I might have threatened violence. I don't know.
I know we were definitely excited about all the games because those were legit. That wasn't like something that was made up.
Yeah, those are actually things in the works.
Yeah.
I think it was more that she was considering making another company to make those games, and we just felt like they also fit in Weird Giraffe if she wanted to do that. So it's nice to have the company, but we definitely still want all the games.
When Carla says the staff, that is not including us, by the way. Like Angel and I did not rebel against that.
We're like birds.
I'm kind of like the opposite direction in that, like, yeah, do what makes you happy. Like, even if it leads to you running 17 different companies at one time, that's fine. I'll do customer service on them all, whatever.
That's the only thing I was concerned about is like, that's a lot of companies, but still do the games.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, the games still need to come out. I know one of them's we might have details for later, or we might not. But otherwise, like, yeah, those are all games still being worked on and stuff. So yeah. Yeah, there you go. And they're all being play tested, as Carla says. We have not play tested any of them ourselves, but that does not mean that they're not real.
Yes, we definitely want to play test them.
Yeah, exactly. We want to play test them, but like a lot of those are also big printing things. And so like, to play test it, like to print all that out, cut it all out, and then be like, hey, you know what? All that changed like 5 minutes later. I might threaten violence too. So.
I'm the one that does it. Don't act like you do it.
I usually do the printing, which means like I have to like open a link and then I have to hit Control P and then I have to enter.
Oh my
word!
Like, and I have to open the thing on the printer so that it catches.
Oh my!
You might want to be careful. That printer might get thrown at you here soon.
Oh no.
I do have to say though, I was the one that printed the last two that we did too. So okay.
That's why I said usually. I usually print things because like the last
I
ones
don't mind
have-
doing that. Like I like doing that while we're watching TV or something. It gives my hands something to do.
Speaking of ADHD, like all I can think now is like I haven't checked HP Instant Ink. We have to get a lot of prints done. Like, oh no, like let's just quit the stream and like let's print a bunch of stuff. 'Cause, like,
Well, Carla,
Well-
making a bunch of bird games is never crazy.
And I was
Yeah.
gonna say we're a fan of your pandemic crazy. So
yes, exactly.
keep it coming.
Exactly.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to add before we take off? We are going to be taking a short break before Jamie comes on in about 12 minutes. Angel and I are going to get some food and stuff before that. But pardon me. But first of all, Rochelle, where can people find you? I know we posted your itch, but
Yeah,
let's do that
you
again.
posted my itch there, warpboard.itch.io. It's in the stream earlier. That's pretty much where all my stuff is. I'm Board Bogs. Here. On Twitter. I'm on there a whole lot lately. So pretty much most of my stuff is there, or I'm in the Weird Giraffe Games Discord pretty much all the time too. So go there. There's a lot of great people.
Yeah, definitely go to there. This is Rochelle's Warped Board.
Yes, there it is.
And the Discord is just weirddraftgames.com/Discord.
Yes,
and yeah,
come
hi,
hang out there.
yeah, Melon.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely go hang on the Discord. We do like daily, well, mostly daily. I do the prompts every day, and I usually forget to do them. So
And there's some really good people in the
Thank-
Discord we enjoy conversating with daily. So it's a nice community.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess that's it. We're gonna be taking off. I'm gonna throw this on the screen just for a little bit. To do while we're gone because, like I said, we're gonna like take a little break. Rochelle, it has been awesome having you here again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
We definitely need to schedule more. What am I even doing here? I just completely lost what I was doing. Anyway,
I have no idea what that's like.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like what? That's possible. I don't know. It's always awesome having you. We definitely need to schedule another time to stream with you
Yeah,
in the
that'd be
future
great.
because it's always awesome having you on.
Yeah, I want to get some of our games onto a virtual implementation so we can play some more together.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'd be great. I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, and we have a lot more games that we haven't played of our own. So, like,
Yeah. I need to play some of my games the first time. Come on.
Yes, exactly.
I mean,
yeah. Okay, that should do it.
there you go.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, that's got our schedule on it. So we will be doing the Weird Giraffe art with Jamie here in about 10 minutes now. But see you in a little bit, and I'll actually remember to put my gloves on, so I'm not like, yeah. Anyway, see you in a bit. Rochelle, it's been awesome having you.
Yes, thanks.
Thanks you for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey again. So first off, yay gloves. I don't have to cover or hide my like super hairy arms anymore. That's a bonus. Um, but also, it was perfect timing because we Angel and I kind of finished up a minute late. I think it was actually me that finished a minute late. Like I'm not blaming Angel on that. That's 100% me. But Jamie came on right then too. So hi Jamie. I know I literally said that I wasn't gonna do that where I like just throw somebody on the screen without saying hi first, but like then I did the thing. So like hey Jamie.
Listen, if there's one thing I know about a variety show like this, it's that, normal streams, there's always something that's likely to go wrong. And with this, it's just a bunch of normal streams crammed together. So
Yeah.
that like exponentially increases the likelihood of something going wrong. And so far, you're doing wonderful.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's awesome to hear. Well, I guess first, why don't you go ahead and actually let me get this thing off the screen first because definitely don't need that. First, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Jamie? You also work here with Weird Giraffe Games, but why don't you tell us about yourself and what you do with Weird Giraffe Games and also outside of Weird Giraffe Games?
So I'll front load with what I do outside of Weird Giraffe Games because I think that's a longer story. I'm kind of the newbie at Weird Giraffe Games, so there's less for me to say about that. But ultimately, what I do, I'm a full-time streamer and mini painter. So I guess full-time artist is a better way to put that. I do variety streams on Twitch, but I also do mostly mini painting. That's like how my content got started. But recently, I've been adding more things like board gaming, like solo board gaming mostly, and some video games, very light video games to the rest of stream. And I've just been experimenting with a lot of different outlets and stuff, and it's been really fun. We did like an origami stream last week, so that ended up being really fun. And then on top of that, I do just like odd jobs, like a lot of freelance work doing writing and editing, things like that. And that is so far what I've done mostly with Weird Giraffe. Although, there's been a couple of like interesting moments where I've gotten to kind of throw in my opinion about art and creative work in the Discord that you mentioned earlier, which is one of my delights is getting to participate in stuff like that. Oh yes, thank you. You like my backgrounds? They're usually on the lower part of that shelf back there, and they're blocked by my chair. So I was like, I got to get those from the center at this time. So I know,
That's awesome.
Most of the time, I'll do a stream, and it won't be representing anyone in particular, or that sort of thing. I've also recently gotten a whole new setup. I got like a nice little folding table and a new camera for hopefully more in-person gaming. So I have now 3 cameras for my setup. I just need to figure out how to lasso those all together so that I can make it work with some sort of cohesion, but who knows? I've been dabbling a little bit in video editing too, because I'd like to start making some content therein. And I kind of do a lot of everything. I like to think of it as like wielding my my ADHD for good, the powers of ADHD.
Yes.
Like at this point, I've also worked with a local artist who goes to. I'm out of Cleveland, and there's a Cleveland Institute of Art around here. She does stop motion film, so I've been painting armatures for her. So I've dabbled in a little bit of everything at this point. I feel like anything that has to do with miniatures at the very least, because that's kind of where my passion lies. So that is that seems to be what people know me for. And the unfortunate side effect of that so far has been that that's all that people seem to know me for. But there's so much more.
Oh, that mini painting lady, yeah.
I would say it's the thing I do the most, and probably the thing I do the best. Other than talking, I'm also really good at talking. All of those things. I made a joke the other day on Twitter. So I ended up getting a degree in English when I left college, and we were talking about poetry. I think I was making some silly like Valentine's Day poems for people. And a couple of my friends who do like social media work in the industry were like, "Oh my gosh, I need to hire you next time I need poems for copy or something like that." And I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I studied poetry a lot in my undergrad. Like I spent a lot of time studying poetry in my undergrad, and then I found out that wasn't very lucrative, so I decided to go into mini painting, which is far more lucrative.
Yeah.
Not lucrative, but it's far more lucrative than poetry. You understand?"
That's definitely fair.
That's kind of it. I think like if I were to put a finer point on what I do at Weird Giraffe right now, it's sort of like um, tripping over myself to try to like keep pace with everybody else, because you guys have this like nice method that you've developed that works for you, and I'm just like trying to find my way. And I'm like, okay, I gotta like get around this, and everybody's like, you're doing terrific, but I need you to do this instead.
I still get that, and I've been there since last January, so don't feel bad at all.
No,
Like,
it's wonderful, and everyone has been incredibly helpful and understanding as I get my sea legs, because this is honestly my first industry job, my first real industry job. So it's been really cool, and it's been an awesome experience to get to work with people of so many different talents that do so many different things. And then not to mention Carla, who's an incredible game designer, getting to know her and get to work with her too. So but getting to kind of apply the more artistic lessons that I've learned. I come at it from a very, I had a word for this and I keep forgetting it, because the similes that I have for it are just not good. But it's more of like a natural approach to art. I never took any art or anything like that, nothing formal at least.
oh wow.
So everything I've done is very like intuitive. I think that's the word. It's intuitive. So it's something I've learned just by doing, instead of like spending a ton of time like formally learning the processes and stuff, just kind of using my eye to determine what works. So it's been really, really cool to like be able to find something, and this is just how our industry goes, but be able to find something where I can take all these really strange, weird, I guess that's really appropriate considering, Weird Giraffe
Yeah,
Games, but
perfect.
all these really weird background tools that I've accumulated and actually put them to work doing something productive. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's really cool too, and it's I think one of my favorite things about the tabletop industry is that like when I did video games, it was like there were people that did video games and coding, and then there were people that did video games and like they designed. So they kind of worked with people that did the coding and stuff, or they did very light coding stuff like I did. But in the tabletop world, it's like you have artists, you have bakers, you have chefs, you have people that do all kinds of things, and then they apply their skills from there to the tabletop games. So it's just
like
really
rocket scientists,
yeah, like people who worked at NASA and stuff.
Yeah.
I was just looking at a company the other day. I was looking at their About Me page, and one of them was like a soil ecologist, and we've got like other biologists, and I'm just like, man, it is just so cool. Well, I think it's because a lot of people do it as a supplemental gig to whatever their day job is. The dream for a lot of people is obviously to do it full time, but there are still a lot of people that do it as additional work. I won't even say like part-time, because I feel like that undersells how much work so many people put into this. It's truly like an industry built on passion. And I know that seems like lip service because that's everybody says that, but like truly these people go so far out of their way to like put their whole heart into all of these things. It's incredible, and it's really inspiring to work around. So it's been a really great experience.
Bez says she loves your Instagram pictures. I've been sharing them here on the
thanks,
on the
Baz. I
screen that you
appreciate
sent me.
that.
Yeah, Jamie's really cool. She has a Discord server too, and it's like there's different artists there and stuff, but she posts like the stuff she's been working on and stuff. It all looks really cool, and it's like not only the art of it, but also the photography of it that brings out those colors. Because I can sit here and photograph cool cards or whatever all day, and they do not look like cool cards. So like
that is a whole other beast. I mean, it's another reason that it's such a cool industry to work in, because you really do need some multifaceted array of like skills to like make things work. You can certainly do things without a professional level of understanding of a lot of these things. But, for example, not only did I learn mini painting, but I also had to learn a little bit of photography to get them to look good, because it's fine if I paint them. But not everybody's going to get to see them in person. So there's no way I can like show everybody like, wow, look at this cool mini. Like the kind of person that carries around pictures of their kids in their wallet. Like I'd have to carry around a backpack full of my minis. Like, hey, look at this, So it just seems like adding more things to the list of things that I learn, but I'm super fortunate that I'm constantly like just so thirsty for learning. So
That's what's so amazing about the streaming community in general is that, like, me tuning into watching you paint minis, I've painted some ceramics and stuff, but it's interesting seeing that on a more micro scale and the things that you do. I was telling Beth the other day that you feel like my new Bob Ross. Like when I need to calm down in the afternoon, I can just tune in and watch Jamie paint. You know, it's
I
just
love to
nice.
hear that.
So it's just a mellow, nice, like, listening to you chat with people. I very much like appreciate that, like Beth and I stream together, so we never like left hanging by ourselves. Like you run that all in your own, so you do a really good job chatting with people and keeping up with stream and painting and all that multitasking. It's just really
Thank you. I
great.
appreciate that. It is its own challenge. It's something that it almost feels weird painting and not talking to people.
I could just see you not streaming and just talking in the corner at your
For
painting.
real, like I'm not. You can ask my partner. Like we had this moment where we had that Spider-Man meme where we're like pointing at each other kind of thing. But it was like she was talking about like how she has a dialogue going in her head at all times, and I'm not that kind of person. Like I'm not the person that's like talking through everything that's occurring while I'm doing it. But when I'm painting, like that has become what I have to do in order to like make good content. So now when I am painting, I am doing that. So like if I don't have something on in the background to like quiet my mind, it's the funniest thing. Like I almost do feel the need to just start talking to the room. You know how like coders, they do the rubber duck thing? I'm like, maybe I should just get a rubber duck for my desk and I can just do that. I can just talk to the rubber duck.
Better than like the Shakespeare skull where you start, soliloquies.
I'll have to paint my own.
That's awesome. Yeah, there you go. Paint it and then like talk to it. Bez has a question here.
Sure.
She says that she did that before she started streaming. Did it only start for you after streaming, where you'd like kind of talk about what you do as you do it?
The crazy thing is I still don't feel like I do it like internally. I'm still not the kind of person that keeps that internal dialogue going unless I'm really, really busy and I'm trying to keep all my ducks in a row. But I've never been that person like that, that person that like talks through things in my head or has like an ongoing dialogue or anything like that. And actually it works really well for streaming because you kind of just have to have the gift of gab to get like a stream going. Cause like I stream a lot with Ray from CGE, and she and I always kind of like agree that there's like streamer brain where you just go on and like you can sort of just do a stream of consciousness that's like slightly filtered, if that makes sense. But otherwise you just go, and it's like you almost can't think too much about it because otherwise you get hung up and you start like stumbling over what you're saying, and then the whole thing kind of goes off the rails. So it is cathartic in both that I'm getting like my art therapy and my talk therapy all at once every time I hit live.
That's awesome. I know I drive Angel a little mad, and I'm not the only one around here that does it, but we'll totally be like, I'll be walking to the kitchen to get some food or whatever. I'm like, okay, I need to grab the oh, I forgot the scale, and I gotta, but I'll say these things out loud, and like, like I forgot to grab this, and so like I walk back in the room, and like, she's
And
like,
not
what'd you
so
say?
not so out loud that you know what they said. Like everybody
just
kind of
like
talks to themselves. I'm like,
just a little bit loud, just loud enough to be out loud, and then like, she's got to be like, what did he say? And it's like, oh, nothing. I was talking to myself. I said this, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
cool,
like
thanks.
if you're somebody that kind of like mumbles a little bit, like on the regular when you're communicating, and then you're also somebody who mumbles when you're thinking through the things you're doing, you start to worry that like they're saying something that you should be trying to interpret at the very least. And if you're if you're in a relationship with somebody, you could start to speak their language a little bit. But like I could totally see why that would be really confusing for you.
There's another question from Bez.
Ooh.
What do you not talk about, if I may ask?
What do I
Curious
not talk
because
about?
of the mention of the filter.
That's a really, really good question. There's not a ton I don't talk about. I feel like I've kind of gotten to the point where like sincerity and straightforwardness is part of the brand of what I do. And I think that's an important question because there is a level of safety that is to be considered whenever you're doing some sort of like online presence situation. And I certainly probably am not as careful as I should be about that sort of thing. But part of my objective with stream in the first place was to not be closed off about my identity, not closed off about like who I am and what I represent, and to rather be a platform where people can discuss sort of thing or have like a genuine conversation if they're not acting disingenuous. So part of that is like not filtering that sort of thing specifically. Um, I would say more so just like depending on the stream I'm on, I have to like not swear or like or not talk bad about things if it's like a touchy subject. A lot of times like the big things I'll avoid are like the really really tricky like topics of the day or the week or something like that, because sometimes I do feel a little bit of the pressure of having to be a place where people can escape a little bit. And so it's this kind of fine line you dance between giving enough of the real world, but not too much. I would say those are the primary things that kind of, that hit that filter.
That makes sense. That's I feel like for me at least, like I'm still really new at this, but like for me, it's I agree with Bez there. I wouldn't say where I live, or where anybody else lives. Other people's details. I honestly get paranoid with Weird Giraffe Games a lot of times. I know Carla will be like, "Oh yeah, you can talk about whatever, it's fine." But like, I still need to be all like, "Can I say this and this and this and this and this other thing and this? What about this thing?" And like, am I allowed to say this part of this or just this part of this or like? And she's like, "Yeah, whatever." So like, that's usually the answer. But there's still like this line of like safety and stuff like that. And just to add to that with the representation and stuff too. In fact, the first, I want to say like 10 times I streamed, like literally the only reason I got on this camera is because like I'm at least representing like what a trans woman can be and doesn't have to be, like when I first came out, it was very much like if you didn't pass, like you weren't a woman, or like if you weren't like basically so focused on learning these certain things, like like I've never learned makeup or any of that stuff, and I still want to, but it just hasn't been a priority yet. And so like I feel like just, and those are 100% valid too. I'm not saying that they're not valid, just that like hopefully this also kind of helps point out that like, yeah, I could have a full face of facial hair, it doesn't matter, like I'm still a woman, and the same thing goes for you, or the reverse, so
Right.
like, so yeah.
But the thing is, those topics, they do require a lot of conversation and a lot of nuance to kind of pick apart, especially if you're coming at it from the perspective of not understanding it. I feel like even if you do
Yeah,
understand it, it's still something that needs to be talked through.
very
So
true.
part of that was like my goal with Stream was to kind of provide a place where people could have those conversations without judgment. Because I think a lot of times one of the biggest factors that go into that social rejection is fear of not knowing like what you're talking about, or not knowing enough about a situation but still feeling like you need to talk about it with someone. Like that can really make you reactive and a little bit defensive about it. So my goal was to kind of provide a place where people could have those conversations and feel stupid and not feel attacked while feeling stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's something that I kind of realized early on that I had the energy for, and it was something that I really wanted to make a priority. So it just so happens that a lot of those conversations, happen around the thing that we all love, which is games. Because the industry, I would say, is above average in terms like, welcoming in queer people of all stripes. So I think there's still conversations that need to be had for the people who don't feel like they co-signed off on that whole thing as like a sweeping measure, but are willing to have that conversation. Like there's still people that just need the education, and it's not like easy to just go out and find.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
hopefully
exactly.
using that medium, we can communicate those things to them and make them feel more comfortable with us being at the table.
That's what I think is so cool about Carla, in that like who she decides to work with isn't always necessarily the biggest person in the industry. It's, those people that need representation,
Yep.
the, people that, an all girl team, or just
Right.
the more people that need recognized and that are good people. Like she just chooses the people that she publishes carefully and who she decides to work with artist wise and that kind of thing, and even the team that she has assembled to help make the games. So I just love that about Carla.
Yeah, I think that's one of the wonderful things about this company, and that is recognized. Like that people outside of our space do notice that, and especially the people who are being represented notice that. And I think there's I wouldn't say there's a lack of that. I think it's really starting to catch on a lot more. But the importance of maintaining that as the norm, I think, is really the key, right? Like, I usually refer to what I do, because you need an easy way to explain things sometimes. I usually refer to it as like demystifying the trans experience, right? Because it's like we said, it's something that involves a lot of nuance, and that goes for games too. Like, there's a lot of rules, right, to how to communicate properly with people who are of a different identity or a different sexuality or something like that. There are social norms that, like, some people already struggle with social norms, so like adding more to that list can be really difficult. And again, that's where the difficulty of those conflicts and that defensiveness and that sort of like reactionary attitude can come in, because it feels like if you do something wrong and you catch somebody on the wrong day, that reaction can be can feel like targeted at you. But that's not the case. There's a lot of nuance surrounding it, basically. And so demystifying might be better put as normalizing, but just sort of like getting to a point where you understand that not everybody is going to necessarily approach it from this perspective, but I am somebody you can talk to about this. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the platform, or what I use the platform for. I did notice that Bez had a couple questions too. Primarily, how do I deal with stuff I don't like? And also an addendum to what they said earlier, which is that some folk are just not interested in learning. That is absolutely true. Luckily, they make themselves known very early on.
True.
And that's a do not engage situation for me. So that's my usual stance on that. I'm getting a lot better at that, for the record, because I sometimes I just want to give them a piece of my mind, but like it's free clout at that point. If you sit there and you talk to them and entertain their bigotry or whatever they're coming at you with, so it's like it's a muscle. It's a muscle you have to work out, and that goes to stuff I don't like. How do I deal with stuff I don't like? A lot of times we'll talk about it, at least in a candid way, and I'll give my opinion on it, because I think, as you mentioned earlier, Bez, if you get a review copy or something like that, you'll share your full opinion. I think that's still really important. And again, to make that parallel between games and, in this case, identity, because that's what, the topic I talk about. It's important to link those things together, because that's why we're here today, right? So the point, I guess, is that in the same way that you can still give critical content for something you don't necessarily love, in the form of a board game, I think when you get information in chat, or you're encountering it in a discussion that you don't necessarily feel comfortable approaching, I think you can still offer a bit of your opinion and then use that opinion as a reason you don't want to go any further into it. I think a big one, just to give an example that I've come across, is AI art in games. Personally, I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. I don't. Obviously, I want artists to be paid, but there's a more nuanced conversation there that can potentially be had, not necessarily to justify its use, but to just explain its use at certain points. For example, an independent person kickstarting a board game may not have the money to pay an artist, and they're putting it more into development or like logistics or something along those lines. And again, ideally they wouldn't do the game if they didn't have the full means to make it happen. But sometimes you need a good pitch. So yeah, you need to do a placeholder or something like that. Nevertheless, that's just an example of something that I don't really like talking about, because I have a really strong opinion about it, and I know that not everybody does. So it's like, it's not something I'll avoid. but I'll give my opinion about it. And if the conversation continues to develop from that point, I'll use that feedback to inform what I say next. But usually, like, I try to just sort of deflect a little bit if I have to talk about something I don't love. So, yeah, hope that makes sense.
And it's fun to do all that while you're also like doing something like painting, like, you're actually like
Right,
accomplishing something and at the same time. I just wanted to quickly throw out there, we were talking about Carla a little bit and the whole, like, how much she allows us, like encourages and stuff. This is the Quirky Bird logo. Originally the Quirky Bird logo was all blue. This down here was blue also. And when we started using it for our company, like the Angel and I also do part of, I had joked that, like, if you just threw some pink in there, you've got the trans colors going on, because it's like the bird's got white on it. And like, she didn't like just say like LOL or like, oh, that's cool or anything. She like literally went to John, who did the art, and asked him to do it, and then it had it done. Like, and then I think, I don't remember which one of us, I think Angel might have actually done the rainbow in the background, because there's always a joke about Carla says all of her games have like hidden rainbows in them. So we threw that in there too. But like, yeah, I just love that.
My brain immediately goes to that conversation we had about Dreams of Yesterday with the urns, and how I think she approached you, Beth, right? And she was like, what kind of color scheme do you want to see in a game that you haven't before?
Oh,
and
that was
said,
Beth Sobel, not
I'm sorry,
Beth.
that's right. I couldn't remember if you were the one that brought up the rainbow thing and Beth Sobel just ran with it, or what the case was, but it was like rainbow juxtaposed with like a black and white design, and I was like, that's so cool. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
And that does drive innovation and creativity, right? It's like, sometimes you do just really need to throw the proverbial spaghetti against the wall and see what happens,
Yeah, and I
and
think
you get cool stuff like that.
I think it's so cool, and I've heard you mention it too, because you do like I don't know exactly what the word for that is. Like, basically, like, you contract like painting minis. I know you said before that your favorite is when people are just like, yeah, do your thing, like, just make it look great. And I think that's awesome, like with artists, because every artist is going to be different, obviously, and artists can do basically what's asked of them, but also, like, you have these things that either you want to try out, or or just things that you're like, this piece is really speaking to me, I want to do this. And so, like, I feel like not having that limit sometimes can be amazing. And I'm sure the fact that, like, that limit isn't always lifted kind of makes it more special too, when you're like, yes, finally I get to do this thing.
Well, and it especially from the perspective of mini painting, there are definitely ways I can sneak some of my favorite colors into work that I do. But like, if I really were to like define when somebody says like, oh, do your thing, like why I love that so much, it's because I like to go with like much brighter pieces. Some of the ones that I showed you at the top of the stream were like, there was a kind of a balance between like more realism and more of my higher like contrast art, because I love getting to go like almost full neon when I can. It's just so much more fun to me to like push those colors that far and then like really drive that contrast between dark and light. In the piece that I do, the one you pulled up is actually exactly what I was thinking of for like a middle ground piece, because you do have some realism, but you also have these neon colors. It's fantastical, right? It's supposed to be. It's made up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really love that. Like, that it kind of looks ombre, but like in a totally different color palette. Like, instead of it being something that blends in together, you have that neon, like, blending, down and separating it, but it doesn't feel like it's two different parts of one thing. It does work. It's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, and like my philosophy behind that was like, they're supposed to be ghosts, and he's like an animated skeleton. So like, of course, they're going to appear ethereal and ghastly and somewhat transparent, and he is tangible and bone. You know what I mean? So I wanted to show the connection of those two things, like why they exist simultaneously, how they, in this case, quite literally support one another. And it's just fun to think of how these things interact when I'm putting them down onto a physical form, and just sort of like try to understand the story behind either the person that sculpted or the narrative for the person who told the sculptor what to do. and then try to translate that to the paint job that I do. And one thing I've been wanting to do this year is start to learn a little bit more, formal art, and actually start like sketching and learning like some basic illustration and stuff. And coming to this from, again, an intuitive perspective, that's a lot harder to do. I feel like, sometimes I like to make a joke and like downplay the work that I do by saying like it's basically just a 3D coloring book, because the
awesome.
piece already exists, and I just need to add the colors to it. Whereas constructing art from nothing is an entirely different muscle that I don't have. So it's been really strange to go from this thinking like, I do understand a decent bit of art, and theory, behind a lot of that stuff, like color theory, definitely pick that up because that's a big part of what I do. I'm coloring, so it's just, yeah, like James said in chat, mini painting is all about coloring my world my way, right? So it's like being the person who gets to make the decisions as to what the thing that you're putting on something looks like and the colors that it is like a totally different ballgame. So it's been wild.
Yeah, I have tried to draw a little bit, and I think that it's amazing when people can just sit down and sketch something from their brain. I kind of have to draw from a drawing to teach myself, and then go from there, because
Absolutely.
like you have to see those lines in the way they exist, so that you learn how to make them. And
Right.
I've kind of realized that where when you do paint, um, you have an artistic eye, and you
Mhm.
you know have a good imagination, and that can get you through some of that art and learning in a different way that drawing just isn't forgiving. You have to know the technique, and you have to be
Right.
taught that. And it's just interesting. The more you find out about it, the more it's really not intuitive sometimes. That
Mhm.
okay, the shading should go this way, not that way, or it should, if you draw this line this way, you're going to make this look, like it's popping out. There's just so many secrets to drawing that like other people learn through, formal education, that
Yes.
I love that you can hop on YouTube and get a short lesson and be like, hey, I learned this whole new thing, and look, this is so much more, you know, put together now because I took the time and they took the time to teach us that. And I think that that's what's cool about even your streaming and showing painting, and just our generation now having so much of that available to us to be able to just say, hey, I'm going to jump on there, I'm going to get a quick lesson, and now I know how to do this thing. Whether that's, how to poach an egg, or, paint a
Mhm.
mini, or I really like Tim Chon, Chuon.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
his board game photography is just amazing. It's so cool watching him do his thing. And he's just so educational in everything that he posts. So that's something I'm really into photography, but photographing board games, a lot of those cards are glossy. A lot of that stuff is
Yes.
meant to reflect light. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
I love photographing, but I do natural light a lot of times, and so that's something that he even recommended. Like, open your window, shove your table up against that window. That's your light,
Mhm.
and my goodness, did that make a big difference. And so, just taking the time to learn from people that have already made those mistakes, it just saves you a lot of trouble.
It's huge too, because when you come to this earnestly and naturally, you don't know what you don't know. And part of what you're doing is both learning those new techniques and learning the names for them and what you don't know about it. And
Right.
like once you can start to define it, you can start to master it a little bit better. And I think the only pratfall to avoid at that point is to not be reined in by that. Like one of the big things I've kind of recently started to cling on to, as far as like, if I were to distill everything that I do into a simple concept, this one thing I've been saying a lot lately is to just like make marks, because the idea is that if you are to sit down and you want to sketch something out, or you want to create art, like that can be really intimidating, and you have this objective that's both massive and also completely undefinable. So you sit down and you're like, oh, I need to create something before this time. And it's like, okay, so now I need to figure out what that thing is, and then also figure out how to render it in a reasonable, understandable way visually. And so all these, like, this wall of all these different tasks has now been built in front of you, instead of this one simple task, which was originally just to make some art, right? So the idea that I like to say with, like, make marks is that anyone can make marks. Like, toddlers get in trouble for coloring on a wall, but they're making marks, right? They don't think about it, they're just doing it. And the idea is that, like, as you learn all those techniques, I feel like it can push you towards a more homogeneous look. And the goal is to still maintain your angle despite learning all of those things. So using those hard skills as concepts and tools rather than as guidelines. So, I guess I just like to like encourage people to do it even if you're not good at it. Like, do it because you're not good at it. Like, and that's
Yeah.
that. I think the most eye-opening thing with mini painting too is just the weird array of people that have started mini painting and how they've taken what knowledge they've learned in these other really strange arenas and brought them into mini painting. And the same thing applies for all art. And I would argue board game making in general, and whether you're marketing, whether you're designing, like any sort of things, like, just think of board game theming, how many crazy themes there are out there that you never would have thought made a good board game. And they're some of the top board games out there. You know what I mean? So it's like, you almost have to train yourself to not be self-conscious about what you create, which is really, really hard, because otherwise you will just create the safe things, and the safe things are not the inspiring things. And you know what? They're not all going to be home runs. Like, but you have to not be afraid to I guess, to extend the metaphor for how little I know about sports, like, hit a grounder to the shortstop and get thrown out at first. Like, that's about the extent I have of sport knowledge. So I'm not going to extend the metaphor anymore. But, like, you have to be willing to accept that whatever you're doing might end up failing, and that's fine, because you just do it again.
Yeah, I think that covers it really well. Like, I've always really loved game jams, like, for making games. It's the same kind of thing. Like, you can sit there and be like, I want to make a game, but then you get so nervous and anxious about doing it wrong that you don't do anything. And
Well,
so you just
right.
have this, like, deadline, and you're just going to do it. And I think you're exactly right. Like, you just have to try something. And a lot of times the more interesting things are when you try something weird or, completely different. Like, let's make a game on a bookmark. Let's do a poetry game. Let's do a game that's like these three combined into one. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, people that make games for 20, 30 years I'm sure there are some people that have done it for that long by now. Like, they make terrible things sometimes too. And I'll bet most of their projects start off awful too. Like, you throw a prototype together and you play it, and the first thing you do is like, oh, there's like 10 things wrong with this game, and I already know it. And so you have to fix it. And it, like, I'm sure the same thing is true with art. Like, even people who are great at it will mess up a lot of times too.
And I think there's, like, an interesting conversation to be had there too, to work off of what you said, with the idea of there being games that people make that have made amazing games that just kind of flop. And I challenge the concept of, like, flopping, because there's a game for everyone that you like, despite it being, like, objectively or critically bad.
It's true.
And
Yeah.
I've realized, like, as I start to make more content and as I start to play more of these mainstream games, I think Bez said something earlier, where they haven't painted just for the joy of it in years. And I'm starting to kind of get that feeling with gaming, where it's like I'm trying so hard to keep up with what's new and what's popular that I haven't had time to go back to the things that inspired me in the first place. I have a weekly meetup with my friends where we try to play games that's been failing terribly lately. But the last time we met up, there were only three of us. And so we just busted out a couple games that we already knew. And then we played this, like, random dice game that was super simple. And I had a blast. I was like, I can't remember the last time I just sat down and played something just dumb and easy like this. Everything I play now is, like, super stodgy. So it's like, you do have to sometimes step back and just do that simple thing every once in a while, just to make sure you still got the muscles for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. Like, a lot of times we'll look at games and pick them for theme or different things. Like, what's the last game that you bought strictly because the art sucked you in?
Ooh, that's a fantastic question. Because I am, oh my gosh, I am such a sucker for box art or like
Yes.
style. I buy so many games that I don't end up liking because I liked how they looked. And then I also pass on games that don't look good that are amazing. Just to vamp a little bit while I think about the game that I bought last with concerning art, like the one that comes to mind to represent what I just mentioned was Orleans. I just played Orleans for the first time a couple weeks ago. I would have passed that game a million times on the shelf and never ever looked at it twice. But having played it, I was like, I need this game. It's so good. I had so much fun. We played the Invasion version, which was like co-op, and it just hit every mark of things that I enjoy about those kind of games. And I'm like, you think I learn? Like I will not learn from this, but I'm excited to have found another game I like. But then the alternative is something like Fire Tower. The style for Fire Tower was just like staggering to me. When I saw it, I'm like, this is so cool. Like it looks awesome. And the shiny little gems, of course, like piqued my goblin brain. And like I was like, I need this in its greatest capacity. So I bought, the expansion and I went all in on it. And it's fine. I like it. It's still on my shelf. I don't intend to sell it anytime soon. But I'm just not motivated by it the way that I was when I first saw it. And I guess I could have used that money to buy Orleans instead.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the concept of rating is helpful, but I do think that relying on it too heavily can damage, the personal opinion. I think that is important when it comes to choosing a game, and I think that goes for art as well. Kind of what I was mentioning earlier, where if you start to set a standard for what is good versus bad in an objective manner, all you're going to get is homogeneity. You're only going to get those games from that point forward because that's the only thing that's going to be profitable. If people shop based on their VGG ratings, then you're just going to see the hot list of the same type of game over and over again until people are like, can we please get something else?
Right.
And I guess, by that logic, it could be self-selecting, but I just don't think that's how that works. But to finally answer your question, I would say the game that I most recently bought based on art alone was probably Flamecraft. I
That's
was really
so
sucked
cute.
in. Yeah, exactly. Like the cute art, just like, so I think I was watching another board game creator and they were talking about Flamecraft. And I had heard of it up to that point, but I didn't realize that they were in like late backer mode. I immediately went online and bought like the full deluxe version, mostly because there were minis, but also because the art was really cute. And I've played it. I really enjoy it. I like how cozy and fun it is, but it's not the most compelling game in the world to me when it comes, like, mechanically speaking. I will stop. I will play with anybody that asks to play it, and it will always remain in my collection because it's going to be one that I customize. But and I like being in that world while I'm playing it. It's not the game I'm going to jump for if I want something that's like really strategically, deep. Of course, I have plenty of those behind me. It's like
right there.
Yeah. Like I have Blood Rage, I have Frosthaven, I have Mythic Mischief, I have all these other games that do provide some more strategic depth. But I just think there's a time and place for all of it, and I think when we focus too much on like what is objectively good versus objectively bad, that's where that like sameness starts to take over.
And I think if you get like sucked in with a certain type of game, like that you like a strategic game, you like a longer game, you end up putting off gaming sometimes because you don't have the time for it. And then it's like you need to open up a little bit and say, hey, you know what I do have time for? I have time for, Trash Pandas. I have time for these little fun games. And you still need to take a break even if you don't have half of an afternoon to play one board game,
Right.
pull out those games that are 30 minutes. And I think that that's what's cool about the industry in itself is that you do have games that could take you 8 hours and you have games that can take 10 minutes. And when you have a good mix of those on your shelf and you're open to playing a lot of different genres of games, then you have time for this game or that game, and you keep things more regularly on the table instead of getting away from that hobby.
Right. The hobby part. Right. Exactly. That's the important part that everybody seems to miss. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's why I love our Weird Giraffe game nights and, you know, BGA specifically, is because I can play those silly, short, fun games. We had a community night on my stream the other night where we played Sushi Go, which, like, I can't even remember the last time I played that game because it's like, oh, it's Sushi Go. Everybody knows that we've all played it a million times. You know, it's like, well, we had a great time playing it. You know, and Just One is another one that I've been playing a bunch lately that I really like. But then I get into this problem where I'm like, the only games I get to play with my family are party games. So I go and I'm like, I just want to play a really hard game, and nobody wants to play a hard game with me. You know, so you always want what you can't have. But it's just, I think, to kind of capitulate off what you said, Angel, like the idea of like locking your brain in to play a specific game and then having that stop you from playing other games is something I truly suffer from. And then on top of that, like, I get games that have minis and I'm like, oh, I really want to paint these, and I just don't feel like I should play it until they're painted, which means I'm never going to play the game. And, you know, like, I think a good example of that is, I don't know if I can get to them very easily. Like my Blood Rage minis, I have the full, like, broken token insert, and for a while there I was trying to do one a day because, you know, by that metric, at least I'll be done with them by the time I'm 96. But you know, so I was like trying to get them done like one at a time, and I haven't even gotten through a single tribe of people yet. So, like, you know, if I wait to play Blood Rage until they're all done, I'm never going to play Blood Rage. That's a bad example though, because that's got digital implementations everywhere. So, you know, whatever. But like Frostbite, for example, sometimes what I'll do is I'll be like, all right, I'm going to pick the first 4 characters that I intend to use, paint them, and that's what I'm going to start with. And then I'll play the game. And that'll kind of inform that next step of like, okay, we paint first, then we play, but it doesn't all need to be done. You know, like prioritizing those steps. But yeah, I mean, it's tricky. And there's like a pressure too, because I'm like, oh, I'm a mini painter. And then I show up with unpainted minis. What's up with that? You know? I mean, the true answer is I'm usually painting other people's minis. But
yeah. Someone needs to like
pay you to paint your own minis.
And then,
right. I've genuinely considered like finding someone who's just getting started with mini painting to be like, hey, can you paint these for me? Like, I don't care. Just do your thing. I don't care.
That's awesome. That's a great idea, actually, too. Like, then you're encouraging others, and at the same time, you'll have. That was one thing I saw mentioned in. I think it was in your server. Just the whole like, if you paint something in a game, like that is now your game. Like it's completely unique to you. Like it's a one of a kind thing. Like this is now like a treasure that's completely different from all the other ones that exist. So I think that's really cool. And so you would have that, and like that person would be contributing to that too. Like they have created a unique thing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. You've got that completely right, and that's part of why a big push, another big push of my platform is to encourage people to paint their own minis. Like, I know that doesn't make sense. I'm a commission painter and also teaching other people to paint minis. Like, by that metric, I'm thinning, you know, the herd of minis I could feasibly be to paint. But on one hand, I think commission work ends up being more expensive than people expect. And on the other hand, there are way too many minis to paint in this world. And most of them are in my freaking house. So
And
this closet behind me, actually, I had to build shelves in a couple months ago because my room was just so full of minis. I just had to put them somewhere else. And now it's just like full of stuff. And I find myself selling it off. I come from wargaming mostly, my wargaming background. So of course I have just thousands of minis from wargaming alone. And now I'm kind of in the position where I'm like, I really like painting board games because there's a defined end to them. You know I only have 10 minis to paint and that game will be done and I can move on and I can play it and enjoy it. It's mine forever. Whereas with wargaming, it's like, oh, there's new army coming out or there's new model coming out. I really want that one. It's like just this constant flood of content. And yeah, I mean, that's a big part of why I decided to gear my content more towards board games in general and start to introduce more video games, because if I just try to keep up constantly, I'll never get anything done ever. You know? So it's it's a tricky situation. You have to start saying no to things, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's always brutal too, because like you want to, like, there's part of you that wants to, but it's like I can do this or this, and like it's sad that one has to win and they can't both.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like, to kind of go back to what I was saying before, like if I genuinely want to learn illustration this year, I need to find time to start working on that,
Mhm.
And if I'm just painting all the time, which is awesome, I would love that. I would love to get paid to paint all the time. But like that still wouldn't be a good solution if I intend to learn more things, because then, all
Mhm.
my time's taken up by that instead of learning something else. I think a big thing I really like to focus on, besides like make marks, is like one of my core philosophies. One of the other things I always say, and people probably get tired of hearing, is that like flowers aren't always in bloom conceptually, right? Like a flower will die at the end of the season and then conserve its energy, save it all up to bloom again the following year. And the same thing works for artistry or for inspiration or whatever the thing is that you put your heart into. You can't always focus on production. You do have to retreat sometimes, conserve that energy, and get ready for that bloom again. And that's where I've been finding the most trouble the busier I get, and I have to start taking my own advice there.
Yeah.
And you can't do that unless you say no. Like
Right.
you have to turn things down, and you have to ignore that little like annoying thing in your head that tells you you're going to miss something. It's
Mhm.
like it's tricky. There's so much self-regulation involved, that that's another skill you have to learn on top of all this other stuff. So it's cool. It's a wonderful life being somebody who enjoys art. And you don't even have to do art to enjoy art, for that matter. I think a lot of people think that mini painting requires you to be an artist or something like that. It really doesn't. It really does not. Again, just think of it as a 3D coloring book. It's all it is. It can be way more than that. But when we put a finer point on it, there's tools out there that I can point you towards that really just require you to pick a couple colors, put them on a brush, and then put them on me. And it can be that simple.
That's really cool. I love that. And that's much more approachable than like,
Yeah.
like here's this thing, like do that. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think
I can paint it all one color.
The visual nature of painting, the pratfall that people confront is they see all these amazing pieces and they're like, mine's never going to look like that, so why should I bother?
Mhm.
And we all know comparison's the thief of joy, whatever. It's just so hard because you really have to like deliberately focus on not falling into that trap of like looking at someone else's work and saying like, oh, mine's not that good. And
Well,
it's
the
not a
problem with that is like I think we all instantly feel like we need to be good at something like right now.
Yeah.
And like you're comparing yourself to someone that's been drawing their whole life or
Yep.
has had formal training, and it's like that's
Mhm.
not fair to yourself. That person
Mhm.
does this every day, has taught themselves, whereas you pick up a pencil, you're not going to magically be endowed with the powers of the pencil. It's
Yeah.
you have to have that education. And like I think that there's a lot of crafts that I end up trying to do, and I really want to crochet. I see people make those cute little like characters and anagrami, I think is what it's called. Like,
Yeah.
oh, adorable! I want to make a little army of those cute little crocheted characters. I
Right.
can't crochet for the life of me. I've tried many times. I don't have the patience for it, and it's like,
Mm.
but look at these amazing things they can create. It's like just walk away. It's not for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking longingly over at the basket of yarn I have over there. During the one evening I tried to teach myself to crochet. I'm definitely a hobby collector. And I think the thing of it is like you do get dismayed by not being good at something instantly. And even I, like at this point I paint almost every single day, and despite the skill that I've earned at this point, there are still people who are far better than me, and I don't know how they achieve those things. So I'm finally bumping up against this weird inflection point where I think I do need to start finding instructors in order to like break through the ceiling that I've bumped into. And it's weird. It's weird to both admit that to yourself and also to find that resource. So
Mm.
it's not it's both something that everyone is capable of, is like learning these things on their own.
Mhm.
But there's also a point where you can kind of step back and like let somebody else's knowledge feed you instead of trying to find it yourself, you know?
And that's what's exciting about art in anyway, is that you need to have those aha moments where you learn something new. Because if you don't and you become stagnant, you become bored with your own, joys. Like they aren't as fun. When you have that, like, oh wow, I didn't, you got to step out of your box sometimes and step into someone else's, like, hey, this is really cool over here, like this is something I didn't know, and adding it to what I did creates a whole new baby. It's just
And that's why I think more importantly than being a good artist or being a good designer or being a good game maker or whatever the case may be, like all of those things are wonderful and I think they're valuable skills to have. But I think a far more important and like more vital skill to all of these things, any creative work whatsoever, is not being afraid to fail. Like that's
absolutely,
it,
and being a good learner. Like if
Yeah.
you can learn it, and you don't stay stagnant in that everything.
Mhm.
Like because once you think you know everything, you stop learning, and it's just so important
Yep.
to grow.
Yep.
That's perfect. We have to say goodbye because we're getting into the next segment here. But
you're on a tight schedule. You got to keep the trains on time.
I am, yeah. None of my trains run on time, but they
That's
do
okay.
run, I guess, sometimes.
That's
but
the
it has
important
been amazing having you on here, Jamie. It's always awesome when you're here, and we definitely have to do this more often too.
Yeah, no,
We
I appreciate you
enjoyed
guys
our
inviting me on.
Yeah, and I had these plans for like different things to show you with art, and I think this went 1,000 times better than anything I had planned. So I really appreciate. Like,
look at that! You've already got that instinct. You've already got that streamer instinct, because that is truly like you. Sometimes you got to make a live call, and I think you did the right thing.
Thanks. Yeah, I did the right thing by letting you talk. Yeah. Seriously, though, I
Yes,
think it
I'm
was
pretty good at
awesome.
talking.
You did say
I'm
that.
very bad at like claiming my skills, but that is one thing I'm good at, is talking.
Well, that's the thing. I've always wanted to do more of having people on and like sharing things people know and then like learning at the same time. Carly used to do that a lot. And I think that's exactly what this was. Like, I feel more inspired to finally try one of your painting challenges, do things like that. So I think it's awesome. But
I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to just extend the invitation to anyone in chat.
Yeah.
I think you posted my Discord up above. I do host a monthly, it's like a rolling monthly painting competition. Gonna look into getting prize support for it eventually, but the concept is I give a randomly generated. So I built a matrix roll D12 or D6, 2D6 rather, and you have 3 different prompts. So it'll be a color, like a focus color, a biome, or like a location, and then a theme. And I roll on that table every month. I give you a prompt and you go with it. Whatever your art is, however you interpret it, it's not about, like, the entries are not voted on based on their quality, but rather their adherence to that theme or their creative presentation of that theme. So that's something I do every month, and we started at the beginning of the month and it ends midway through the second month. So you have a whole month and a half to do all that stuff. So I invite everyone to join, because it's been a really, really fun challenge. And I find that it gives people an opportunity to choose to give themselves time to do that, instead of just being like, I'll do it later. And then you never do it. Right.
Exactly.
You have a contest to prepare it for. Right. So as important or not important as it is, it just gives you that ability to like stake that time for yourself. And that's kind of the point of the whole thing. So
yeah. I love that. That's awesome. And definitely, I would 100% recommend everybody head over to Jamie's Discord server, because, like, I think I'm a member of like 3,000 Discord servers, and there's like 3 I ever talk in, and Jamie's is one of them. So, yeah, it so is. But thanks for coming by, and I'm sure we'll see you more at the Weird Giraffe Games stuff. And then also, like, hopefully have you on. Also, Jamie will be here on Tuesday of next week. We're going to be playing with Meeple Conrad and Justin and Angel and I. We're going to be playing, I believe it's just one actually on Tuesday. I'm not sure. I think so. Anyway, we'll share that on the Discord server and on Twitter and stuff. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is too.
Okay, cool. But have a great day, Jamie. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you, guys. It's good to talk to you.
You too.
Okay. We are going to be talking, hold on. Oh yeah. Yeah, Bez, I'm very exaggerative. Like right now it's negative 300 degrees out. So that's why the hat and the gloves and everything else. It's not literally negative 300, but next up, I was going to talk very quickly about Dreams of Tomorrow, but I was only going to talk about it for like 15 minutes, and I didn't really have anything much to say about it, just describing the game. But instead, we're going to get right into Dreams of Yesterday. Dreams of Yesterday is going to be the next game coming up from Weird Giraffe, and we have Heather here. Heather, I'm going to be adding you here in just 1 second. So just a heads up, since I totally forgot to give that to Jamie, I was just like, click, hey Jamie, and like, so, hey Heather, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Doing all right.
Good.
Hi, Heather. Nice to meet you.
To meet you.
Yeah, I've talked to you a couple times in emails and stuff because you do so many different things, and like Weird Giraffe Games has been, been a part of a few of them, and I've kind of like done that part for a couple things, but it's awesome actually meeting you.
Same.
Other than like I think we were all in like a group of like 8 people or something during the non-pub stuff, but Heather here actually designed Dreams of Yesterday, so she's joining us here to talk about it, and we'll actually be playing it in a little bit too. So Heather, first of all, I guess we already touched on the fact you do like 8 billion things, but if you want to share any of the things you do or introduce yourself, absolutely feel free.
Sure. So I guess I'll go in order, which is also kind of chronological order. So kind of started in the industry through Ninth Level Games, which I'm now the CEO, owner of that company, which started out as a role-playing game company only. And then somewhere around 2013, 2014, there was some board and card game designs that I was involved with, and another friend of ours was involved with, and it kind of made sense as we went through the journey of making that game, which was called Schrodinger's Cats, to just become part of the company. So it was a 2-person company, and now it's a 4-person company. So I kind of got involved somewhere in that range, so that by the time the game came out in 2015, I was pretty much running the company at that point. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to quit my full-time job, but I was doing that for a while and designing a few other things like Meeple Party and Pavlov's Dogs and a couple other card games that we published. And then when the pandemic hit, I was thinking I might want to leave my job and just do games. And that's what I did. And I ended up joining the board of Unpub. So Unpub is the Unpublished Games Network, which is a nonprofit that helps people get their games published or give them feedback about the game design they're working on, and let them play test it, that type of thing. So that was like August of 2020, I got involved. So I've been the managing director of that for about 3 years, running speed pitching events, which is like speed dating, but for publishers and game designers. Where you get 10 minutes to pitch your game, running the conventions online, running the conventions in person as they came back, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the other big thing I'm involved with. And then on top of all of that, I freelance and run people's Kickstarters and do marketing for them. So I work part-time at Atlas Games that make Gloom and Dice Miner. And then I also just freelance as needed for other people's games.
I love the "and I just" yeah.
I know. I just a few things. I used to be so busy though, because I was a project manager at AT&T. So I worked like a full 40, 50-hour week and ran the company. So I think I'm just not used to having like that much free time.
Like I don't have 50 extra hours on top of all this. I did not realize that that you got into like the 9th level full time and all that like so recently. It was one of those that felt like you must have been doing it for like forever. Like there was no beginning because like
well, there kind of was no beginning because I came into it because my husband Chris started the company back in 1999. Like he still lived at his parents' house, I think. And that kind of rolled along as the role-playing game company with a few titles. Someone else published the game. There wasn't really a lot going on. So even though I was there and I knew what was happening and maybe I showed up at a convention, it really wasn't our jobs yet way back in the day. And then around 2013, they relaunched their big RPG, Kobolds Ate My Baby. And then after that was successful, we thought about the board games. So it was around then when I really got involved. So it's been about 10 years, a little bit less probably.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you've always been like really encouraging and kind too. I really appreciate that. Like it's one thing I think that I don't know if it's just how the tabletop industry is or if I've just been very fortunate, but it seems like everybody that I've met has been like really nice, and you're definitely amongst them. You definitely like, you're very in fact, I kind of stole like where I kind of messaged everybody before this was like, hey, you know what, like here's a link, like if you have any questions, this and this. I kind of stole that from you because you're always really great about like, you know, hey, this is what's going to be happening ahead of time, so you're not like 5 minutes before you're going to be on something and like still not knowing what's going on. Like so I kind of stole that from you anyway.
Yeah.
But
No, thanks. I guess the other thing, I mean, Carla has said this a lot on many streams. So if anyone who knows Carla, seen a stream with Carla, has heard this, but I feel like I'm kind of similar in the way of Carla, where, you know, we are choosing to be in this industry and we're doing things we want to be doing, as opposed to, oh, it's just like the slog of a day job and we have to do this. So, you know, we don't have those stigmas and those things. Sure, we get stressed and things happen and deadlines are missed and things, but overall, I'm doing this because I want to do it and I like doing it. And I think that helps a lot to make it just kind of flow nicely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm assuming probably even like Carla, then you probably face the same, like you get bogged down a lot of times by those other things you have to do. And then like, you just kind of get that, like, I really need this design. I need the design right now. Like I haven't designed in so long. Like, let me do this thing. And then like, you kind of make time for it eventually. And it's like, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem with running the company is I'm doing all of the finances, all of the production, you know, quoting and ordering and making sure the shipping is coming in from Asia and all that stuff. So, you know, there'll be a month or two where I'm like, I haven't even played a game. Like what the heck's happening, you know? And then let alone design a game. So yeah, there's definitely been stretches where I'm just like so excited to be able to be creative, you know? So that's the one negative of doing it, but I also really like running the company too. But yeah, like there's the big Unpub convention in person's coming up. So I've got my design I'm working on for that I can finally, you know, have in front of people. So it's fun to be able to do that too.
Yeah, that's next month, isn't it?
It's about a month. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
16th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. I got to be part of that speed pitching event the last time, and that was a lot of fun. And like, y'all found some amazing designers, like with really great games, and they all did a great job too. I know that was basically like I think like the finals or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, they deserve to be in the finals for sure. Like,
yeah, it's cool how they come in. So what we do, just in case anyone doesn't know, if you're thinking you might want to submit your game, about 4 or 5 times a year, we do the speed pitching event, where basically on our site or on Twitter or on Facebook, we'll post a submission form. And we typically get like 70 to 150 submissions. We get a lot. And then we have to narrow that down to maybe 10, 12. The most I've ever done in one session is 14. And that's a little chaotic. So, I mean, we have to really narrow it down, right? So typically you are kind of getting that cream of the crop. Like these people, not only is it a great game, an interesting concept, like they're ready to pitch. Like they had everything together. They're, you know, they may be nervous and personally not ready, but the game is ready to pitch, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And you probably saw this too. I mean, you know, you were coming from the publisher side, but almost all these publishers too they're so gracious to the designers, even if they don't have any interest in this, in signing that game. They're willing to give feedback. They might say, hey, you know, in the beginning you started a little too fast and I kind of missed it. And they'll give that kind of feedback, which is really, really nice. So even if it's just for the experience of doing it, everyone I've talked to has been like, that helped me so much. You know, there's certain people that have 2, 3, 4 games signed now that started out doing that in 2020. And I'm like so proud of them that like now they're like an established designer. They don't need to go through speed pitching anymore.
oh, cool.
Everybody knows who they are, kind of thing. Yeah.
That's
cool.
amazing.
It's cool. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Jamie, who is just on here, says that she thinks you met her at Gamelech.
Yeah. Yes.
Helped find some really great games to
I
stock up on.
did. Yes. My no longer active friendly local game store. That's a shame. Unless you chose to do that, then good for you.
Okay, so Dreams of Yesterday. What was your original inspiration on Dreams of Yesterday? What led you to design it?
Yeah. So if any of us remember, because I don't remember the exact time, Carla and Weird Giraffe put out a contest. I think it was winter of 2020 going into 21. That's vaguely when I remember this happening. Take one of the existing games like Fire in the Library, Dreams of Tomorrow, or I think Gift of Tulips, or maybe Tumbletown. There was a few options that you could do a card game version of.
Right.
And so we kind of had the option of saying, let me look through your catalog and what is speaking to me. And so I decided at that time that I was going to do this. I had recently quit my full-time job. I had the extra time. I was like, I'm definitely going to do one of these. And as I went through the mechanics, so I had played Fire in the Library the most, but I felt like that might be not as much of a challenge because that's the one I knew the best. So then I think I had played Dreams of Tomorrow like one time, and I don't even own it. But I was like reading through the rules, and I was like, I think I can work with this one. So I spent like a weekend kind of brainstorming a bunch of ideas. And what hit me is kind of that rondel effect that it ends up being in the final game is where I started in the game to say, this is kind of what I'm going to go with. And it seems like it's mirroring a little bit of Dreams of Tomorrow. And let me see if I can get somewhere with this. So that was what sparked it. I looked, kind of like researched all the options and kind of was drawn to the theme of Dreams of Tomorrow. And I liked the rondel mechanic. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do something with that. I'm definitely a mechanic person, like an analytical person. So when I'm designing, I'm usually designing nice Jamie. I'm usually designing mechanically, but sometimes I'll be like, oh, I have this theme idea for it, and then that might not work. This freed me to be like, I don't need to worry about a theme because I'm working off the idea that exists, and I can put a theme on later. So I kind of worked with that movement that's in the final game. So in this game, I believe there was a limit on however many cards. I forget if it ended up being 18 or 24 cards. It's a very small card deck. So there's a very limited amount of things you can do. There can't be giant hands. There can't be a lot of resources. So as Beth and I talked about, I think all over the NunPub Discord server, like a game jam, it gave me more and more constraints, which I was finding fun to try to like figure out how I'm going to do this. So as I started working on the idea that, okay, you're going to move around the rondel, but you can only move, and buy something that you have resources for. And the cards are going to be resources on one side and an artifact on the other side, right? To also double up the cards so that there'd be more options out there in the deck, considering there was such a small deck. So that's kind of the next thing that got me really interested in keeping it the game that we now have is, okay, I can do one thing on one side, another thing on another side. I can add some kind of flip mechanic into the game so that you're able to see both sides. And, it could kind of feel like the original game. So that's kind of like where it all started. And it's somewhere along the line, it hit me. I don't remember when exactly that I should do Dreams of Yesterday and make it in the past. And that's where I kind of came up with the museum idea that it's all these old artifacts that you're collecting as opposed to dreams or futuristic fun, different things that are in the other games. So I decided that go that route. And then, building similarly to in Dreams of Tomorrow, kind of building your rows as your floors of your museum. That was kind of where it all came through. And like I said, because there was constraints, it kind of allowed me to like not worry so much about what is this exactly going to be called? Does this make sense thematically? I just kind of played around with the mechanics of everything and the flipping of the cards, which we can get into more detail. And by the time I kind of got through that, I was like, I think I actually maybe have something here. Let's try out a couple, play tests. Luckily, I have someone I was living with at the time in the pandemic, so we could play 2-player, and I could play 1-player, of course. So I could get it to the table really quick. We would like sit down and like play 6 games in a row, and then the next day maybe play another 4 games as I changed 1 or 2 things. So I was also like really able to iterate on it quickly because we weren't doing anything else in winter of 2020 and
fair
we were home. So the luxury that's a luxury I don't have as much anymore because I'm busier and more things are happening and there's conventions and there's personal commitments now and I'm leaving the house now, so it's things like that actually really helped kind of work out really well because at the time I had the drive to do it. I was excited about doing it. You know, just kind of all like perfect storm of it all working out together at the same time. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's really cool. And yeah, it's funny because that contest is actually where I found out about Weird Giraffe Games. Angel and I had never played any of them. And
Wow.
it was actually where we first kind of started designing tabletop games too. I think we entered like 7 things into that thing because
Yeah.
it was just one of those, like, I have an idea, I'm going to slap it together and I'm going to submit it. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. Like,
yeah, like that year I submitted to so many contests because again, I was like, okay, I'm not in the corporate world anymore. I'm home. I was having the drive and what's it gonna hurt, right? So,
yeah.
So that's kind of how it all kind of went. And yeah, it was super fun. And sometimes I have personally found designing, I don't want to say a smaller game because that's not really the right word. I guess an edited game, that is small and tight is kind of where I like to be. What I find hard is when I have a concept or an idea that's like got to be a little bit bigger and there's got to be more going on, like a 4X kind of game. I might have the idea, but I find that that's harder for me to design, where I'm better at like kind of focusing in on this is what we're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing what constraints do, like what you can do in that bottle.
Yes, it was just like, oh, great, here we go. And within, I don't even know, probably 2 to 3 weeks it was done. And I've had a couple other designs where there was a lot more going on, and they're still sitting over here and they're not even to anybody, because it's just, okay, there's this piece and then this piece and then this piece and then this piece. And, without the constraint or the deadline, it makes it harder and harder and harder to actually say, I'm done and I'm going to submit this. So that also, I appreciated that it was hey, design a smaller version of this game, because I'm like, okay, that I feel like I can do in the time frame and feel comfortable to actually submit it out there.
Yeah, and it turned out really well too, because like you said, it's dreams of yesterday, so the dreams of tomorrow. Like, I'm terrible at titles, so again, like, just having the title already, like, like having it a play instead of is a great starting point too. But it's you have the rondelle in there too. You have the set collection that it has. You have the abilities that you're building on that it has. So like it worked out really well that it is very based on that, and yet still very much its own thing. Like, it's one of those games that I feel like the same thing happened with Dreams of Yesterday or Tomorrow even too, where because you're only collecting 5 dreams in that game, it almost feels like it's over before you think it is. And the same thing happens with Dreams of Yesterday. Like, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to get this second urn and I'm going to finish everything. But like, before you can, like, the game's over. And it's like, dang it, I should have started that earlier. Like,
I think that's what's so clever about some of those games is it does leave you wanting more. So you want to play a game again. You come back to them because it's like, okay, this game is over, but you can play again. It's just
that's a good point.
One of my friends is obsessed with the game Spirit Island, and so many friends have played that with them and said, that the thing I wish about this game is as soon as you finally get everything like where you want, it's over, right? But the thing is, that's what makes people want to play it again and try it again and do that. It doesn't mean that works for all games, but that's a particular game that a lot of people I know have mentioned that being. They might sometimes say it even as a negative, but then if you ask them, say, well, did you play it again immediately, or did you want to play it again? Like, yeah. It's like, okay, we'll see. Like, this is what we want as game designers, is like for you to play our game. So
right, yeah. Like, if it was twice as long and you only played it once, then like, and
exactly.
We talked about it a little bit with Jamie, but where like Angel pointed out that like these shorter games, you don't have that added stress of like, well, I have to have like 3 hours to play this thing, or like I need to spend a good portion of my day. It's like, it's a half an hour, it's like a tiny little box, like you just pull it out and boom,
you can take it with you. Like, I haven't actually, like, aside from my like prototype version, I haven't had it in my possession to like take out to places, but as you may be able to see, I've got like tons of smaller games somewhere in there. But I have, like, that's kind of my go-to, is I'd rather play 3 games in a night than 1 game that takes all 5 or 6 hours of the game night. I'm willing to do that. I'll play 6-player Root if I want to spend my whole Saturday, but but and that sometimes is fun too. It's just, if I was picking, I usually go the 3 smaller games.
Yeah, that's how we are too. We have things like Gloomhaven, which we haven't played in forever, because like now it's just supporting a stack of other games because it takes so long. Yeah, but like when we actually play games, it's like, I think the longest we play is like Fallout Shelter, which is about an hour. But yeah, for the most part, it's going to be something that's 20, 30 minutes. And those are even great. Like if we're like before when I wasn't, trying to get an event together in a week or whatever, because I put it off too long. We could just like play a game on a break, like have a table out while we're eating lunch and then just play it around the food and we're all good to go. So like you actually have like fun in the middle of your day instead of having to wait for a day off, whatever, too.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I like about not only the form factor, but like the timing on those games make them easy to say, you know what, if I throw it in my bag when I go over to my friend's house or my cousin's house or at work or whatever, maybe I play it, maybe I don't, but it's not like a lot of burden to take it. It's not a lot of time, if you're having a somewhat non-gamer involved, you don't have to scare them off by being like, it takes an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me pull all these pieces out for you. Like, spend 10 minutes setting a game
Well,
up.
it takes an hour and a half to set it up, and then we can play.
Right. Someone
Oh,
was just saying that recently, was like, I wonder if boxes, would boxes start putting setup time on their boxes? And it's like, no, they don't want to do that because they don't want to actually know how long the whole thing is going to take.
Yeah, and I feel like they'd all lie anyway. Like, oh yeah, it's 5 minutes, set this up. And
That's what sold us.
5+ minutes, right? But it's like 55 minutes.
That's actually what sold us on the Gloomhaven organizer. It actually said the setup time and then how much time it saved to have that organizer. And I'm like, yeah, we're not playing that game until we have that organizer.
Yeah, we literally didn't either. It was
Yeah, that's funny. That's
But,
funny.
and yeah, it's true. Like, my dad visited a couple, like 2019, because it was before we, the COVID and everything.
Yeah.
And we brought a few games over, and it was a huge hassle because like we were only going to have time to play one, but I wanted to have some options, and they were all like bigger box games. So like it's just a huge hassle to throw those in a trunk, hope they don't open, like everything else. And it's like you have these smaller box games, and like super easy. Like,
Yeah, you can set those up like at a restaurant, like while you're waiting for your food. So
yeah.
And I think if you, not the Dreams of yesterday or tomorrow, I keep mixing the two of them up all the time. As Dreams of tomorrow
I do too,
takes really long or anything, but it, it might be like if you already love that game, you could take this and be like, oh, it's like the travel size,
Right.
Yeah, and I'm like 99% sure if I didn't have such a huge mess in my box, I could totally just put the one in the other, and then you could just take both games at the same time.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Well, that makes me want to just like get a game box and just throw a bunch of little games in it and be like, yeah, I'm going to play this game. And then like, it's not actually that game. It's like, really...
there's 6 different games in there or 8 different games. It would be cool.
Carla points out too, this Stellar Nick here is Carla. I'm using the Weird Giraffe Games account, so she can't use it. But she says if the biggest complaint about a game is that like it's too short and you want to play it again, like not too short, but like, ending at the perfect time. Then
right when you're getting excited about it.
And exactly.
It moves, right, exactly.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than like an engine building game where like it ends way too early. But like there's definitely a difference between too early and like right when we wanted to do this thing. And a lot of games too, I mean, you can just homebrew and like, just play one extra round. Who cares? Like, and then you'll find out this is why it ends here, because
that's why it has to end there. Yeah, exactly. Because there's not a lot of games, I guess, because like in the market now, like usually this type of game doesn't do well, but some of them just drag out too long, right? Because it's more about like the taking the turn and thinking about the things, and it's all about that 1 point difference at the end kind of thing, and it's very, very calculated. Most of these games that do it poorly don't succeed. You don't see them anymore. But there was, I remember playing a lot of games in like the early 2000s when strategy games were just kind of like here, but they weren't here yet, and there'd be just like, oh, try this new thing that came out in 2005 or 6, and you might be like, okay, oh my god, it takes like 3.5 hours, and then it's kind of basically akin to something like Splendor nowadays or Azul. It's nothing special, but at the time, these games came out, they have to be these epic strategy games that really aren't doing anything different than what these quote unquote later games are doing now. It was just a new concept at the time. And I remember like our one friend, huge German strategy gamer, always would bring in the stuff. He would order online and bring in all kinds of stuff. So I couldn't even tell you the names of these games, but we tried a lot of different things like around that time, and many I love, but some of them it's like, okay, this did not need to be 3.5 hours.
I think that's what's so cool about Dreams of Yesterday, though, is that because the cards are reversible and we're shuffling the deck and you shuffle the urns in later, every game, even though you have a small deck, is so wildly different. Like
Yes.
the feeling of it, the way it plays out, just the collections that you make are have to be really off the cuff. You can't have like a locked in strategy because you don't know what's
Mhm.
going to come at
Do
you.
not know what's going to come out, and that was kind of one of my fears, was that it might be like deterministic. So like I do remember a couple times changing a few things, like this shouldn't be on the same card with this, like a few things changed around based off that, but for the most part it was like kind of surprising that after a lot of playtesting there was only a few things I had to change, or maybe maybe I pushed it a little too much. You can't move 3 space, different things that I was thinking about that as we went through it. But that was a really cool like discovery. Was, I don't know, like I said, after like 30 playtests, being like, wow, like we had different setups, we won in different ways. Again, the game still ended the same way, but it's like, okay, this time I'm going to go out, I'm going to try to get the urns. Okay, this time I'm going to try to film this time I'm going to try to get money, resources first. And like it didn't really matter which way we did it. Like there was always an option that somebody would win an equal amount of time either way that they did it, which was kind of cool.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because Angel and I were sent the game to playtest a while back, and when we first did it, neither one of us ever wanted to get urns, like ever. Like we'd always avoid them because like they end a row and then you don't have that power anymore.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so after we did that and I explained it to Carla, she was like, well, here's a secret challenge then. Like, Beth, you're gonna like try to win based with and finish both rows, both of your exhibits with urns, and that's going to be your secret goal. Don't tell Angel that's what you're doing. And I did, and I did end up winning because of it, because I timed it. You have to time those just right, but they can be really valuable. I didn't get both of them because I just like there is a big shift in learning the timing in this game that I think is really interesting, because if you try to go too early, like the game's going to end and you don't know if you're going to win or not, even though you can see that. Like I like that too. It's very open information, so you can see like if I end it right now, the game's over and I win. But that's not always the easiest thing in the world to do, because those urns are pricey too. So.
Yeah, and the thing that's kind of fun about having those is kind of almost like you said, you've play tested it a bunch of times. Maybe you don't want to go for urns. Hey, go for it on your first time, but you don't have to win. So maybe that's something after you've played it like 6 or 7 times, you're like, okay, maybe these urns are something I can try to do, and can I actually do that? Which obviously it's tougher doing it that way, because you have to get used to that timing and you have to be comfortable with the fact that it might not work out and you're just going to try it. A lot of times though, I don't know about everybody, but I when I play a new game a couple of times, I like to just try out a lot of different strategies. So I'm okay with losing. So I there's some people that are like, if I don't win the first time they play it, they're like, I don't like that game. But I kind of like, well, this time I'm going to try this, and then I'll be like, oh, that was not the way to win, that kind of thing. But that I like that it has that. So it was cool how it came out that way. Yeah.
We do that on our BTA game nights. Like I usually play kind of straight, but Justin and Beth will always do this. Like, oh, we're playing Can't Stop Express. I'm gonna win with no sevens, and they'll avoid the sevens, and they'll have a, little change in that. Like, I'm going to restrict myself even more just so that, when I win, it's more satisfying.
Yeah, I forget what we were just playing. I think we were just it was another BGA. We were just playing For Sale, and I was teaching somebody how to play, and I was just like, maybe you wouldn't want to do this, but I'm gonna do that. And I like bet so much money that like I would never usually do it. I was like, I'm gonna take this one, and ended up working out in the game, and I did better than I got like second place, and then I was like, oh, okay. I was trying to show you this is an option, but maybe you don't want to do it, but it's just kind of funny because usually I just don't keep overbidding just to spend my money on that game. But in that case, it kind of worked out, and it was like it freed me to try it, because I was like, oh, well, I'm teaching someone new. I'm just going to try a different strategy and see how it goes.
I love that too. And it does make it like a game like Dreams of Yesterday, or even those like you said, you can't really rely on the same strategy. Like you can't go into it like I'm going to get 2 urns and I'm going to finish this, because you never know what's going to happen. And so like, there's one game where this is a set collection game. So there might be one game where you just happen to get all the like dinosaur bones and you win because, you happen to jump on those and you have 5 of them in a row, or, you barely have any. Like there was one time I won, and I think I only had like 5 artifacts, but I got just the right urns to match those, and so
Yep.
that did it. Like you
Yeah,
never know, and you have to go with.
kind of play the board, which is what I like about it too. Like, not that there isn't, analysis paralysis looking at the board, but there's no way you can be like, okay, well, if I do this and then they do this and then I'm going to do this, that's pretty much impossible to do because you have to watch what's coming up, and kind of start. And there's not a lot of time to overly plan for too long because you have to kind of make a decision and just roll with it as they come up.
That's what's so strange about this too, is because like usually you don't have like luck based and strategic. It kind of, I love that Weird Giraffe Games kind of combine two things that normally aren't there, and it comes out in such a surprising way. And this is one of those times that there is some strategy here, but there is a lot of luck that strategy has to line up right to be able to play.
Right. And you're kind of you just kind of are rolling with what's in the board at that moment, and trying to make the best decision you can at the time. And it might not work out for you in the end, but hopefully it does. Yeah, that's super fun.
Yeah, I say that's always my favorite thing about games anyway, because I like strategic games. I don't like when it's purely strategic because a lot of times that means one player is going to win the other, and a lot of times it's very much like I'm going to spend 10 minutes on my turn, and like if you don't, then I win. So like I really like when you have to kind of respond to the game as much as you're strategizing.
Yeah, I guess there's strategy and there's like tactical, right? It's the two different terminologies, and it's like sometimes you have to kind of go, okay, certain games you are like, what's my long-term strategy? Maybe I have a secret goal. I need to make sure I capture all the blue things or whatever it is, right? And in other games, like maybe like even Splendor, for example, you're playing the board and you're like, well, what they did now, that changed what I did. That changed what they changed. Now my plan is gone again. I have to come up with another thing. And I actually really like that part of that game is, you're playing with somebody and they get one of the big things and you're like, oh man, they got us. And then, they plan on something on the board and they're realizing that it's not there by the time it's their turn, in that particular game. So sometimes strategy people don't like that because they are used to being able to calculate out what or best guess of what people are going to do on their turn and what's going to be available on their turn. And like there's probably other better examples, but that's the first one that came to mind where, it's about what you're playing on the board and trying to like recalculate your whole entire winning strategy each turn. And that's
Little Factory is like that for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yep.
Maybe Gizmo's a little bit like there's a little more openness to that, but yeah, you kind of have to play with what you got and
and it kind of keeps going. Yeah, it keeps changing and go, okay, well maybe if I can get like 2 more bones and this, and you think about it, you still think about it, but it might not happen and you might have to change it up again the next,
exactly,
which is cool. So yeah, no, I was excited. Yeah, I was excited when Carla and Weird Giraffe was like, we want to make this. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. It's like one of those things where I think when you're in your own little bubble and you're playing it, and you're like, this is really working. It's like when other people actually like respond to that, it's like, oh, yay! Like it's not just me,
it's so weird being in your own bubble of like I always think it's interesting, and what I always think is really magical about game design is like you kind of start with this like idea that's fantastic, and then you make a prototype and it's terrible, and then you play that with somebody and like it's terrible, and like you're kind of like having to excuse what you're doing the whole time at first, like because Angel and I play test together, but after like 3 or 4 iterations or more, depending on if it's a bigger game, we usually make smaller stuff. It's just you finally start to feel like it's fun, like you want to play it, not like you want to make it where it's playable.
Right.
And so like I think that like that's the next step up from like you finding your own game fun is that other people find your game fun.
Yes.
And they choose to play it. And it's like, wow, okay, that's really cool. Like, there are 8 bajillion games in the world and these people are choosing to play mine and want to make it, something more. So
yeah. It is funny, like still sometimes we'll like, talk to certain people and they'll be like, we play Schrodinger's cats like all the time still. And I'm like, oh my God, it came out years and years ago. It's just funny, but like, I know a lot of people like that game. And, when that first came out, we really liked it and we still play it occasionally, but it's been so many years now that it's like, oh, right. People still pull this out, but, I'm still pulling out like, like you said, Can't Stop. I have the old school Can't Stop up on top of that, Calyx because it doesn't fit in a Calyx, the old school one. But I love like that's a game that like if if that designer, if I just met them and they were like, yeah, I designed Can't Stop. Oh my god, I love
Like what? No. Yeah.
I
It was,
forget who designed it, but yeah, it's one of those things where like uh it's weird when someone's like, oh, like I'm really into this design, or I play this all the time, or I really like this game, because I feel like a lot of times we make the game, it's out in the world. It's like there's this wall between us and everybody, even at conventions or on Kickstarter, and someone says that, it's still kind of like this wall. And then when you meet somebody and they're like, we play it, our kids love that. We play that all the time. I'm like, oh, really?
oh my goodness. Yeah. Like we released some bookmark games fairly recently for a game jam, and I had a picture where somebody, well, I didn't have a picture, somebody else posted a picture. It was basically like you're supposed to find this, like you pick a word, your goal is to, and a number of pages in the book, and your goal is to find it like exactly 20 times. Like, so you can pick like the in one page and just see what happens, or something rarer in the whole book.
That's
And
cool.
this guy had a picture of his kid reading a book with the bookmark half filled out, and I was just thought that was the most amazing thing ever, because you're right, there is that wall of like, and even like, because we put our games on itch and you can see how many people
Yeah,
download it, and so like, yeah, it's really cool to see that, but they're just numbers at that point until you actually see somebody talking about it or playing it, and it's like, wow, okay, like actually, and it's just amazing, for anybody watching that ever thinks that about games, like, please let the people know. Like, it doesn't matter if there's somebody like you think is like really big, or like somebody who's like made one game, because like we all deal with imposter syndrome, and if we see that like one time, that'll fuel us for like a month or two, like
that's
just like,
true.
yeah, like, oh my goodness, that's like, I'm doing something, it's great. So
Yeah, it's
that's
always cool to get like a tag to show like like someone playing the game, or like uh a game state picture or something like that. Yeah, it's always exciting.
yeah, exactly.
I had seen there's a hobby where people paint rocks, and sometimes they'll put like a hashtag on that rock so that you can put that on your social media, and then it'll be like a picture and say, oh, someone found my rock and this is where it ended up. Like they were on vacation and now it's in a different state. So they see where their rock travels. And that's something I like to do with like scene games that I make, is put a little hashtag on there. I still check them, hoping that, I'll see someone tag it on there like, oh, yay, this, they played the game and they took a picture where they were and now I see it, but we
That's
just
awesome.
brighten up seeing that.
Yeah, because of course, as anyone with anything, when you have a negative comment, it's like you focus on those negatives forever, and you still think about them 5 years later, and then the negative, a
Yep.
positive one can boost you for a little while. So having those like consistently, or fairly regularly coming in throughout a year is really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bez here. Yes.
We actually have well, first I was doing it in a folder on my computer where I just have like an accomplishments folder. So just basically anything, like if somebody says something nice about a game, or like, or about me in general, or whatever, I'll throw it in there. And then I told Carla about it, and she started doing it in our Discord server in like a private
Yeah.
chat. It's just like, if somebody has a good quote about a game or whatever, not necessarily like that the game was good, but like just that they enjoyed it, or like,
Anything, yeah.
yeah, so not meant for like public, just like, hey, you know what, this is a mood booster, and like it is
Right.
just amazing to kind of like, if you're down or if you're feeling like off, you just kind of go through those for a little bit and you feel a lot better. Sometimes it's just too much, but like,
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Like,
yeah,
especially if it's early on, like before the game's out, and you hear some things like, okay, that's exciting. Or if it's years later, like the game, for example, like Fire in the Library has been out for a while, and it's like, you don't hear a lot about it, and then all of a sudden you hear something. It's like, oh, people are still playing this game. Like that's exciting. Um, it is cool. It's fun. So, you know, uh, the thing that I don't know if you guys do this or not, but like one of the things
Mhm.
I like to do is yeah. Thanks, too.
Yeah, like fair, yeah.
Fair. One of the things I like to do is when I'm play testing a game with other people, which in this particular case I could only do with one person, but on other regular things, I just kind of love, like, I think you had said it, Beth, like you get to the point where people want to play the game, and you can like read the vibe of the table playing the game. So that's not what
Mhm.
they say, it's sometimes how they're acting playing that game. And when I feel like I've hit that level, that I'm happy with how they're engaged and they're having a good time in some way, however it fits the game. Then I feel like, okay, now it's ready to go past that level, right? Like now I
Yeah.
can start thinking about publishing that game. Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. I like that too. Because like Angel and I, we haven't left the house since late
Right.
2019, except for short walks around the block or whatever. And like,
Yeah.
so we haven't play tested with other people. And it does, it always feels like, you know, where is the point where a game is good? And I think you're right, because there is that like, yeah, this is fun, you know, like you know, it's all right. And then there's that like you really get into it moment, like, you
Yeah.
know, like, and you said it could be totally different for different games. You could be angry at each other, and that's a good thing. You could
Right.
be
Yeah.
laughing. You could,
Yeah.
yeah,
Doing
and
math in your head, you know, whatever the thing is that was the game. But yeah, like it took me a couple years of playtesting to pick up that was the thing I always like felt, you know, after that day happened or whatever, I would say, oh, I feel like we're close. Like, I feel like we're ready now. And I was like, oh, the next time it happened, I was like, wait, you know what's different that day? Everybody who playtested that game that day had, you know, kind of the emotion that I assume you would have playing that game if you're having a good time. You know what I mean? Even if it's not outward laughing, you know, for like, you know, the type of game or whatever. You know, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this about feedback, which is like sometimes you'll watch a whole person play and they're like this and they're not having any fun in quotes. They're like, I love that game. It was so good. And you're like, what? Like, I thought you hated that game, that whole play test. You know, or the other way where you're like, they were laughing and giggling around, and then they're like, well, I don't like this, and I think you should change this, and I think you should change that. And you're like, oh, I thought you were having a good time. I guess not. You know, so you still got to make sure the feedback and everything actually of the game mechanics works. But you know, it's definitely one of those things where if I don't have that element, even if everyone's saying minor changes about the game, I still will keep playtesting it to get that vibe where I want to be, if possible. Yeah.
That's awesome. And
That's
yeah, that's a very well said there. Playtesting truths. What's
That's
up,
an
Angel?
interesting point. We watched an episode of No Rolls Barred the other day, and because someone had won like an X amount of time, the group of people decided that they had a wish list of games they were going to play, and one of them was a Monopoly-esque roll and, you know, move kind of thing, and they were just hooting and hollering. They were just laughing. They were having a good time, but they were making a good time. You know, they were, you know, so it's just a really interesting thing to like be able to pay attention to that table vibe and make sure that it's not because, you know, people are just trying to make the best of a situation rather than this is a really an amazing like game.
Exactly. Yeah, you do have to be able to differentiate that. And I think it's slightly different if you're a publisher, you know, as opposed to someone who's pitching the game. I feel like it's slightly different because as a publisher, I'm always thinking, how am I marketing this game for sale? Right? When you're going to pitch a game, of course, you're marketing it to the publisher, but they might completely retheme it. They might make a bunch of changes. They're worried about the mechanic and, you know, how that's working and that uniqueness of the game to differentiate in the market or fill a hole in their catalog. So when you're a publisher and a designer like Weird Giraffe has and myself, I'm not happy to say I'm going to go forward until I feel like I know how I'm marketing this game, and the marketing that I say to you is the expectation you know that you really get when you're playing the game. So, you know, there has to be that, because we're not changing the theme. The theme I'm playtesting is the game it's going to be, and that is the plan at that point. I might change it if I don't like the feedback I'm getting, but you know, in pitching games, sometimes of course they stay exactly the same, but usually there's a theme change or something happens in development that's different than your original game. So that table vibe will be different when that publisher, you know, actually puts it out later. So that is something to think about if you're not a publisher and you're not seeing like people get super engaged with the theme, but they're like, I just love this mechanic or this, you're still good. Because, you know, if they're just like, this theme just seems so overdone or something, don't worry about that if you're pitching it, because the theme is something that can get changed. So I just want to mention that for my unpub hat on there a little bit.
That's awesome.
Have you found that like some people that have pitched get kind of married to an idea, and like you kind of get a little off put by that because it's like, oh, that's so your baby, you're going to have to publish that yourself?
Yes. No, I have 100% seen it. Another thing I was involved with pre-pandemic that I haven't gotten back to yet is the Game Makers Guild of Philadelphia. There's a few, that's where I'm from, by the way. There's a few other chapters along the East Coast, like in Boston and Connecticut and DC. And it's a playtesting group at a game store twice a month. And a lot of people would come in there and they had said, I've been working on this for 3 years. This is like the first time they're showing it to somebody, right? So they are in love with it. They love their idea. I know, exactly. And they are not ready for what we're all going to say, and being, even back then I was still, I had run a ton of Kickstarters and had done a lot of crowdfunding. So everyone would say, you got to go talk to Heather if you think you're going to crowdfund this. So I would, help many people, give them tips on that, because I think a lot of people think the game needs to be done and then you show it to people. And that is not correct. But people don't know, you just don't know. And if you're not really in the industry of designers, then the social groups that a lot of us are in, where you get to hear this and understand like the process and how the process in quotes typically works, not always works, but then you realize, oh, my first game is probably going to suck and I might have to make a lot of iterations, and even the final game might not be, I might have to kill my darling, and it might not be that really cool mechanic that I want the end condition to be has to be gone or something, and I also think you have to get one under your belt. Like you have to design a game, have all these things happen, and then go, oh, okay, I need to design another game now, right? I feel like that is a big part of getting through game design. Yes. They always say fail faster, and it's 100% true. It is very scary, though. You don't want to put things out there. I understand your very first time. I remember the very first time I showed a game to someone that wasn't like a very close friend or relative. It was scary. But it gets less scary after you do it a couple times.
And I think it helps now too that there are so many digital ways to do it too.
Yeah.
So like even if you're scared about like actually seeing the look on their face, like because I feel like a lot of us can kind of like, and I was thinking that actually when you're talking about like people go to you beforehand, like so I'm sure there were a lot of people that were like, oh yeah, this game's really fun. Go see Heather though. Like she can tell you.
I don't know what they said, exactly. I don't know what they said to that person. They're probably really nice, didn't say anything negative, and then we're like, hey, I have this game I'm going to kickstart. It's a roll and move that features 700 cards. That was like a real one that happened. So stuff like that. It's
oh my goodness.
It's like, oh honey, no.
There's a lot of oh dear, oh honey kind of things happening. But yeah, so that was one of my main excitements of being able to get into the Unpub board, because I want to be able to like share this knowledge and make sure people know these things and are comfortable with pitching, and being confident that they do understand what they're supposed to be doing, and that they're actually ready to pitch, and that they're not coming in there not knowing what they're talking about, not knowing what the mechanics are, not understanding, that this game there's no market for this game, So there's a whole bunch of really cool things that I've been able to do because I got involved with that in a larger scale than just my local group of getting those people hopefully up to speed. So
those are so interesting, and I've learned a lot from watching them, just because like it helps you from a design level know when it's right to turn something over, whereas it's like it might not be when it's perfect, but it's when you can't do any more for it,
Exactly. And I mean, I think if you're talking to any size publisher, there's some development that's going to happen. Now a bigger publisher, like Asmodee level, of course there's going to be a ton more development time, and it might completely change. Maybe a smaller publisher, they might say, hey, we're going to do this, we're thinking about doing that, and they'll have you more involved. But if there's a point where every time you look at it you're like, I don't know what else to do, but I just don't feel like it's done, it's probably done.
Yeah,
done enough, like you said, to start showing it off to people and pitching it and doing those type of things. So.
I think you touched on it earlier too. I've found like, because we make a lot of small games, so there are times where Angel and I make a game in like an hour or two and then put it on itch because it's done. Like it's a small little thing, or like RPG that's meant to be read, not even necessarily played. And I feel like that is a big difference. Like if I make a game that I'm excited about, but then I go to make that itch page and I don't feel excited about what I'm writing about it. Like I just know that idea. Like it's just not great. But there are times where I'll make a game in an hour and like it's just funny and I love it. And so you go to write that description, and it's like you're just having such a great time. It's like, okay, this is something. And like that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be published or that it's even a super fun game, but it's at least something you can be excited about. And I think that helps too.
Yeah, no, I think
sometimes things have different endpoints. Like, like there are a lot of times where you just make a little experimental tweet-sized game, and it's done, and it is what it is, and that's awesome. But
100%, I totally agree. And like the other thing is, one thing you want to think about. I mean, it's a little different if you're pitching your game, but if you're thinking about self-publishing your game, you better like your game because you are going to be playtesting it a lot, showing it, talking about it all the time. There's like, it's really tough to make it, throw it on a shelf and be like, cool, I'm making sales. I don't have to do anything. Like, that's not how it works. I mean, maybe some lucky people, but you're going to have to be out there demoing it, showing it off on streams, writing marketing copy for it, doing posts about it, running a campaign on Kickstarter probably. So there's a lot of things you have to do. And if you're like, I'm about this game, that's going to make it really tedious to do that. So, and I think if you're not into the game, then it's like,
you have to stay excited. Yeah.
But if you are into the game and then if you are into your own game and you're like, yeah, but I don't know if anybody else is, they are. Because if you're into it, then there's a really good chance that other people are into it. Maybe, like you said, Beth, in a small tweet size or itch game is not quite for everybody, but it's for somebody, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. We do a lot of RPG work over here, and we have, our pile of ideas is insane over here. But when we say, okay, are we going to actually print something? That's when we kind of say, okay, is this actually print worthy, or is this PDF on drive-through and itch only, or is this?
Yeah.
Are we even thinking? Just put a tweet and say, it would be a cool idea if, and do that, So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think it's interesting that all those things can coexist on their own. And like, I think the problem then is when people see one of those things that's really not something huge as like, this is my golden ticket. I'm just, like you said, I'm gonna send this to a publisher and I can just live off the royalties of my very first game.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Yeah. Sorry to tell you, I wish that was the case. I wish it was that easy. Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it too, is like, so, there's just a lot of misconceptions about what it is to be a game designer and or work in the game industry if you're not in it and you just don't know. Even the thing I wanted to bring up too, which was a lot of people think that they need to hide their game because someone might steal the idea because they don't know that you cannot trademark game mechanics, and there's no reason to hide the game. You don't need to have people sign an NDA unless there's some kind of licensing deal you have with somebody. You can show it to people, and so that's another misconception. I think people don't know that, and then by the time they've shown it, they've hid it for so long. We might be like, yeah, there's a game called, I'm just saying, Magic the Gathering. Have you heard of it? Not that bad, but they're in their bubble again. Where they're like, oh, I made this great design. We're like, yeah, like 8 years ago that game came out or something, so it's that kind of thing where, I don't know how we could get the word out more because I feel like the game industry is so much smaller than it seems like it is, because you've got a lot of the huge manufacturers pumping games out every 2 months, and you see 10,000 games come out in a year and everybody says it's this huge industry, which it is. But as we know, if you're in the design world, it's pretty small, and we kind of know each other, and we kind of there's all these groups, like there's the Protospiel and there's Unpub and there's the convention scenes and there's Metatopia. There's these groups that kind of handle this stuff, and unless you know to Google that or look for that, you have no idea what Facebook groups or Discord groups to join or anything like that, so we try to get the word out.
I think that's awesome. And yeah, it's funny because like with the idea thing, our first tabletop game we released in any form was for a Let 'em Dare jam, like a 48, 72 hour jam over a weekend. And Angel came up with the idea. It's called McGuyval, where basically it's the Facebook idea of like, you have stuff around the house, can you survive zombie apocalypse or whatever, but this is just like ridiculous scenarios or whatever. And we'd put that out like years ago on there, and then like a year or two later, because we hadn't ever finished this thing up, I saw something kickstarting that was very similar to it. And then like a year later or 6 months later or something, I had mentioned the game on Twitter, and somebody was like, this is just like my game. What do you like? Did you steal this from me? And I'm like, no, look, I had this back here. And so like, if anything, like getting that idea out there is proof, if anything, like,
good idea.
Yeah. And it's like, I I never in a million years would have considered either one of those people stole it from me. Like you said, ideas are ideas. They're there. Like everybody's gonna have them. But
that is a good point without getting too deep in the weeds about this. But like, have an idea. One of the things is like to do a designer blog about your ideas.
Mhm.
Really serious about it. It's actually a really good idea, because if you're like about to kickstart and somebody puts something out and you're like, this is just my exact game. See, this was published in 2019 on my website or something like that. Not that you want to deal with taking someone to court or doing anything like that,
Mhm.
but I mean, I don't know that you would win anyway. But the other thing is that might allow you to say like, hey, I'm going to send this person a message and be like, you know that this existed, or put it out there. Like I said, it doesn't mean it's going to solve all your problems, but if you don't have something out there that can be referenced, then you really have no recourse to say anything.
Yeah.
So it that's one way to kind of easily get your game out without being as scared to bring it to the table, or even on a tabletop simulator type of thing. You can just put your design blog up with a link to the rules and say like, I'm working on this game and here's my latest iteration. And if people see it, they see it, but it's a little less scary, I guess, to put it up like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a really funny one. Bez just posted this. One unknown UK designer accused another UK designer of stealing their game because they are both based on making chocolate. Different mechanics, different in so many ways. Some folk have a ridiculous ego. And yeah, I think that's the thing. Like there's playing defense in like, I did have this idea, like,
Yeah.
but like again, you're not gonna take anybody to court or anything. And like I feel like even just like you said, people could comment and be like, hey, have you played this game? And it's like there's this one half of you that kind of shuts down, like, oh, okay, this is already done, I'm not going to touch it. But there's another part where you can just be like, you know what, cool, this exists, I can play it, I can see what it's like, and I can make something that's different and standalone on its own thing, but like took the lessons from both of these things.
Think about how many games there are with a pirate theme, fantasy theme, zombie theme, bird theme, food theme. I mean, we have a million things that are the same theme. So I totally get that. I mean, sometimes I will change a theme if I'm just starting a design and I'm like, oh, like 3 games are coming out with that design theme. I'm just gonna move along to something else, but if I have a game about or cats, for example, I think there's always room for games about animals, and I don't think it's gonna matter if you have another cat game or another bird game. It seems like nobody minds. Or chocolate making game, also fine.
It's so funny because I don't even think it was exactly over the theme as much as there was one card that we had posted, and it was had to do with piranhas.
Okay.
And their game had piranhas in it too, and was like
was that what it was?
game. Yeah, it was
okay.
that exact card was like theirs, and then so we must have copied the whole game because we had piranhas too.
My favorite thing that we ever got accused of, and it wasn't a formal, it was a Twitter accusal, not a real accusal, was
That's what ours was
on
too.
the box. Oh yeah, on the box for Schrodinger's cats. It's about, dead or alive cats in a box. So on the side, we have one of the cats in a box, and it says, "What's in the box?" ?
Yeah.
He said that we stole that from him because that's something that he says in his game. And I'm like, actually, it's from the movie Seven.
I was going to say that's from Seven. What are you talking about?
So it was the weirdest thing to be like, and like we got a message from our I think he messaged us on Twitter or something. And we're like, okay, like that was the strangest one that I've ever gotten.
People are so silly.
Yeah.
I want the confidence to just reach out to other people I don't even know and be like, you're stealing from me, even though you don't even know me or haven't seen my thing. Because like, obviously that feels like you're saying like, my thing is so big that there's no way you missed it. Like it's just
what you were saying. And I was like, okay, yeah. It's like, I didn't name the game like Coca-Cola versus Pepsi or something. Like it's not even the name of the game. It's one art piece on the side of the box. Yeah, that was a strange one. But yeah, I mean, I think people, again, this is part of kind of the thing we were talking about. You get so close to your design and that, I think there's probably a good chance that in a lot of these cases, these games aren't being shown around. They're in their little world. And then when they see something like this, it's like, it's a crime against my game. And it's like, you know what? If you looked around a hall at Gen Con or a playtesting hall, you're probably going to see many things where you're like, oh, I guess roll and writes are big. That was the summer where everyone was designing a roll and write. Oh, trick taking games are big. games about bears are big or mountain climbing is big or something, like you just it kind of the zeitgeist just kind of hits like, it's time for that kind of thing, or that's in the culture right now. So everybody's kind of talking about whatever the thing is. And
That kind of reminds me of
don't
the
really
Devil
worry
Wears
about it. Yeah.
yeah, the Devil Wears Prada, where like the boss is basically teaching the new person that like, oh, you might be wearing this and thinking that you aren't part
Yeah.
of the fashion, but do you realize that years ago I set that into trend and that's why you're wearing it? It's just kind of unavoidable that there is a trending thing happening, and there's reasons why people are into, even if it's not in the board game industry, it's like, hey, people are into this fandom, and then it translates into the board game industry in some way.
Sorry, Bez, I didn't mean to step on your toes like that.
Yeah, I couldn't resist throwing that one up there.
No, that's good. But yeah, that's a really good point. Like the other thing, we've all, everybody in the ninth level group, again, the idea list is insane, and many of them haven't been even talked about online. But we'll have an idea and we'll kind of work on it for a little bit, and then a game will come out within a couple years of the exact same thing. It's like, sure, that's going to happen. We had that idea to make a game about, like, there was a game about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory recently, and we were going to do like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory game, and we just never really got around to finishing it by the time that one got announced. So we were like, well, we're not going to theme it that anymore. We're going to do something different. Maybe we won't even make it. But it's that kind of thing. Like, people are thinking about these things, and you really can't worry about it. Honestly, like kind of bringing it back to what we're talking about today, looking at, dreams of tomorrow versus dreams of yesterday. I took a lot of things that already existed in that game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, how can, like you mentioned this earlier, but how can I make a different version of that, right? A lot of times you'll see a game design come in for speed pitching or something, and it's just exactly Cards Against Humanity with different theme, or it's just exactly Everdell or Race for the Galaxy with a different, or sometimes not even a different theme. You know what I mean?
There's
I
times
get
where we
it,
do that.
but you'll see these things come in, and it's like, well, play the games that, first of all, be aware of what games are out there, play those games, and say like, oh, if I was making a game, I love deck builders, or I love this. If I was making a game like this is how I would do it, and I think some people just think, oh, this is how you make a game, and they go from step 1 to step 10, and they just make the games that are already out there, right?
Right.
And they don't even realize it. But I think it's that's definitely some of the stuff that's hard to see if you're not really in the world. But going through this, it was like, okay, it didn't change a lot. Obviously things changed, but just tweaked it enough to be like, oh, that's different, right? And that's kind of what I think the industry is looking for. You're always going to have your like a major like breakthrough mechanic where everyone's like, oh my God, that's the most amazing thing. And those games are going to be huge. But in between those breakthroughs, I feel like they're just like little tweaks to mechanics that we already know, or matchups of mechanics that we already know, right?
I feel like I remember a moment like that when we first got into design. One thing that was really big was the crossroad cards from Dead of Winter. Like everybody was just going crazy over those.
Yep.
And so, there's just this moment of like, hey, this is just so different, like, and unique. So it's awesome hitting those. But if you can, you don't want to, we like snake oil, and we'll make games, kind of like based on that. But we didn't make rethemed snake oil. We added stuff to it to make it our own game,
Exactly. I also made similar to that too. Again,
they're fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But like that kind of thing. It is one of those I guess nuances that until you're really in the world, or until you really get things pointed out to you, you might miss those. You might miss that, and you might think, well, the only way to be successful is to make Dead of Winter. It's like no, like, or to make the next Risk or something, But there's so much in there. There are people that are self-publishers that have 5 or 6 games that just consistently sell well. It's their own little world. you know, like Red Raven, for example, like that makes
We love Red Raven.
everything Ryan Luca makes. Like he makes all the games, he draws all the games, like he's in his own little world, and it's great, and everyone loves them. And it's like, you know, good job for him, or even Tiny Epic, you know, like they kind of found a lane that's different. And even though all the games are like maybe similar-ish, there's a place for that in the world. So you don't have to make games that already exist. Like you could say, I'm gonna do this style of game and just keep making them, and they do well, you know.
We were surprised with how similar the you know, because they all live in the same world, but then those mechanics, there's always something grown on that, and you know, these games feel like they're kind of exploding into something bigger. I mean, to the point where we got the third game and it doesn't fit on our table, and we have to put it on the couch too, and it's just so big. So it's like, okay, we want to rein it back to that first game so that, you know, it feels a little more manageable and it's not such a big game. So it's like, okay, there's a growth there, but you know, it might not necessarily be my favorite thing, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's cool seeing the difference there. One thing with seeing a game in the design phase that I think is so cool, like people don't realize, you know, you don't have to have that art, you don't have to pay for, you know, that's something that publishers will deal with, and they really kind of shy away from having something that finished, you know, because then they can't make it their own. It's just cool to see how they grow. And a lot of people get intimidated that, hey, my little idea isn't, you know, good enough. And it's like, well, make it good enough, grow it, you know, like feed it, make it better, like until it is something that you want to play and you're excited about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. Like, I think people say, well, I just have a bunch of index cards with marker and they don't look good. And in their mind, they're like, this can't possibly be exciting to anybody. But that publisher's really excited because they're only looking at like the baseline mechanics, and they don't care if there's a pretty flower on that image or not. Like they're just ready to play this game about flowers that has, you know, a black marker that says, you know, iris sunflower, you know, that's all on there with a number, and they're plenty happy with it. But it's hard to feel confident about that when you're seeing other prototypes, or you're seeing other games out there that are like really, really well done. And sometimes it's because they're self-publishing it, or because they're already like further along in the process than you are, right? Like they're maybe they are signed and they're finally playtesting it, or maybe they have their artist, so now this is them playtesting it with the art, or maybe they are the artist, right? So it's easy for them to do that. And then so you see that, and then you go, oh, mine looks like crap. And it's like, well, no, like do not worry about that. And that is hard to feel that way when you see this beautiful thing next to your table.
Right. What did your dreams of yesterday look like when you pitched it to Carla?
It was definitely black and white. I grabbed some icons. I love this thing called the Noun Project that we have a subscription to. It's basically like an icon generator.
Oh, cool.
Or an icon database, I mean. So I grabbed things on there, and basically it was just a basic like card that had the icons on it. And then the rules were like a Word document, you know, that's it. So I mean, I think in the very beginning it was hand drawn, and then I made cards that had these icons on it. But again,
cool.
It was not hard to do, and it did not cost me any money. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
We did a challenge for like a handmade thing at one point. We are just not artists, so I'm like pulling up YouTube on the last minute, like trying to, you know, get a tutorial on how to draw a treasure chest and like quicksand, and I, you know, was proud of what I did. I did not expect it to come out as good as it did, but you know, it is interesting, and it's just like I'm more proud of that because it was handmade, and we ended up having to hand write all of the cards and everything, so it felt like a lot more earned. I don't know.
I know what you mean. That's cool. I like that about the game jams, like being limited where you don't have a printer or anything, or a laptop to get working with. So, you know, if you're doing like a timed one, like an hour or two one, so hand drawing them is always fun. Or modifying existing cards, like the deck of cards or something.
Oh yeah. I think you're with us when it inspires you more to get started by a challenge or a jam. We do that a whole lot, and it kind of helps us to set aside time to do that too.
No, I agree.
This I just threw on the screen the drawn out dungeon game that we made, and the challenge was that literally everything had to be made by hand, and Angel did almost all of the art, but that is all hand drawn.
And
So.
I cannot draw, and I cannot believe that I got that.
Mhm.
We had a shifting corridors, and I'm like, how do you portray a moving wall? And I'm like, hey, it'll be like a minion carrying a like cardboard wall. And so I did little hands on like a door, like
I like that.
Yeah. And that's a thing too. You are experimenting. I think Bez made a point here too. Like existing thing with tweak that actually changes stuff feels like a legit way to start a game. What if Magic the Gathering but deck size is 20? What if River Rally but with dexterity? What if Dreams of Tomorrow but 16 cards?
yes.
Exactly. Like it might evolve out of that, but that could be a
Mhm.
fun challenge, especially if you're stuck on something and you don't have any, like, you don't feel like you feeling very creative, like, but you want to make a game. Maybe be like, hey, I'm gonna I'm gonna,
Thank
take
you,
a game I
Bess.
love and tweak it,
Yeah. And I think that's exactly it. Like, I feel like that's the case with most game jams. And I know it was the case with Nun Pub, where the
Yep.
game jam gives you like a starting point, but then if you don't do those things, that's fine. Like let your game go where it's gonna go. Like don't ever constrain yourself so hard that like you're killing your own game by not, like, oh,
Exactly.
it has to stay this way no matter what. So
Right.
like
Like,
then
this
it
is a
then it
prompt to get your creative juices flowing and to give you a reason to do it. And, if it ends up being completely different because of that, that's fine,
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
That's
and I
what's
do
cool
think
about those 18 card games that you all made for that challenge is that like now they're 27 card games, they do grow. So
Yeah, exactly. They did end up growing, but it's one of those things where when Button Shy came out with those 18 card things and some 9 card ones that they had done too, that was such a fun constraint for so many years because people had been trying to design these more epic games.
mhm.
And that was kind of like one of the first to get the game jam as their whole company
yeah,
philosophy almost.
exactly.
It's really cool. I love all those.
Well, I think that what's fascinating about that too is it really does call the group of like imagination because they're asking you to come up with something so unique and different in such a small constraint. And it's like if you can't do that, it's like, you may do better in a different way, but it's you got to know a lot of mechanics. You have to know a lot. You think, hey, 18 cards, whatever, but to make that unique and to use all of that space creatively, just is a big accomplishment.
Yeah, and it totally forces you to edit because
Oh
you have
yeah.
no choice but to try to fit in on those number of cards. So, it's one of those things where it's like, well, it'd be cool if I had 6 more cards, but I don't. How can I do that?
Right.
Exactly.
And I think you utilized yours very well in Dreams of Yesterday.
Yeah, definitely.
We really enjoy playing that, by the way.
Yay, thanks. That's awesome.
Conversely, we have Carla who always jokes about how like if she tries to enter like a 27 card or 18 card or 52 card game, she ends up with like 300 cards in her game. And like but I mean that's the thing, if that's fun then that's awesome, go for it. But I also think that that's a really neat way to look at it from probably a publisher standpoint too, at least as close as we've gotten. Isn't it like I feel like it's easy to throw a bunch of fancy stuff in a game, but then the publisher is going to look at that and be like, okay, cool, this game's going to cost me like $30 to produce it. And
Right.
people are going to pay 25. Like this doesn't work. Like, so, or like, okay, cool. You have, I don't know, 55 cards. And so like we have, a standard sheet of cards plus one. Now we got to deal with, this not working on a standard sheet of cards or whatever. So like,
Yeah.
can you limit this by one? Thanks. Like,
Exactly. And I've definitely found that people who are more willing to be pretty flexible when they're thinking about getting their game signed definitely do better than someone who's like, nope, I need all creative control. I need this, I need that. It's like, you sound like you don't want to put this out yourself, because there's things that are in quotes out of your control that you have to agree to if you're going to sign the contract, of course. But that is tough. And I think the other thing is for me personally is I'm kind of interested, like I like the constraint of stuff. I kind of like the idea of like rolling with it. So it's like if I'm working on a design and I'm like, you know what, I just realized that I've made this 55 card deck, but I know a sheet size is 54. I got to find a card to cut. Like that's something I would just immediately do because I would think of that and say, well, how can I resolve that problem now while I'm designing it again? Because I'm thinking of it published from a publisher mindset. And you don't have to do that if you're designing, but it would be probably appreciated if you think of these things. Like maybe it doesn't have to have like 72 plastic mold injection base. We can have tokens.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Is this
speaking
still
of that,
working?
like
Yeah.
Unknown Planets has that like Lazy Susan with the polyominoes in it. It's just so funny to me that it's like, yeah, you have this such a custom thing and it's epic and everybody loves that Lazy Susan, but it's like at production, thinking in that way, it's like, oh my, that must have been a lot,
Yeah, and I know a lot of publishers they kind of want to have not all of them. Some of them want to always have the fancy stuff, but some of them
Mhm.
have like, okay, we want that big box cool thing, but then we need to have like 3 midweight games and 3 smaller games, right? So
Right.
these publishers only have room for one of those large games in a year, maybe 2. And even though they're huge companies and they have money, they also are supplementing by adding 10 smaller games. So the likelihood
Right.
that your game with all those pieces is going to be the way you envisioned it is tough, and good luck if you get through it, but it is a lot of work to try to get that signed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Like, do you
definitely.
really need 900 tokens? I don't think you do.
Yes.
Yep.
I originally we were gonna play the
Yeah.
game, but Jess is gonna be getting started here in a minute.
That's
With
okay.
that said, I love the chat that we had. It has been awesome having you on, and maybe like I'm gonna send you an email. Of course, it's up to you if you want to or not, but maybe we can set up a time like in the next couple weeks or so to just go ahead and play it on stream and have
I
you on
think
and
we
not
should.
have
Yeah,
the.
it's quick enough. I think we can set the time up at some point. So
That'd be
I would
great.
like to play it again because it's been a while.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
And Beth put it on implementation that we had a fun time playing with.
Yay!
Yeah, screen top's cool. So
Yeah, screen top.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely down to do that. So just shoot me a message and we'll reschedule it and we'll put it on at some point before. I guess when is the crowdfunding? March 17th.
March
yeah,
7th, I think.
March
is
7th is the aim, but they haven't
Yeah.
actually like locked it in yet.
Okay, so it might not be. It's going to be in March probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're hoping for that 7th, but
More than likely it will be the 7th, but like it's just one of those like not 100% things. In fact, speaking of which, there's a link to if anybody wants to click through and get signed up, be notified like when the game does go live on BackerKit. That's where we're funding it as BackerKit. You can just click through that link and then like put your email in, and they'll let you know when it starts up.
Yeah.
yeah, the Weird Giraffe team keeps meeting up on Screen Top and playing it in the background too, because we love playing it together. It's fun.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna pop this in here just for you, Beth. But we have a campaign. It's for a role-playing game, but it's on BackerKit right now, and I'm really happy with how this platform is. It's good. I like it.
Oh, cool. Wow,
Yeah.
it's doing really well too. Are you cool with me sharing that on the?
Yeah. No, yeah, it'd be good. This was the original RPG that kind of started the company. So it's where you play dumb, small, little weak kobolds instead of strong adventurers, and it's very silly.
That's
It's kind
awesome.
of meant to be that you like have it as your break from the serious D&D campaigns and stuff like that. But when that came out, I think originally came out as like a zine in 1999, and then it came out in hardcover in 05, full color soft cover in 2013. So we planned, so this year it's been 10 years since that one, and next year's 25 years since the original zine came out. So we were like, it's time to like put a new version out, and we're doing plushies of the
That's
little.
so cool.
So
Isn't it
yeah,
awesome?
it's cool. But yeah, we haven't used BackerKit before, and I really like the system and the interface.
I love that too. Same dumb jokes, all new rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cute.
Yeah. Just I threw it in the chat here. Jess is starting her stream. She's going to be playing Wicked and Wise with her husband. So and it's also giving us a break because we're gonna have lunch.
Need lunch.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but I will absolutely be reaching out to you probably during our lunch break so that I remember to do so, Heather. You just get back to me whenever, of course. But like, yeah, I look forward to playing this with you and like talking more and stuff. You have been awesome to chat with. So
Yeah,
Yes.
you guys too. It was fun.
thanks. But I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to raid over there. I've seen them do it before. I've never done it. So, oh hey Corey, Corey will be back with us here at 4 o'clock. We're gonna talk about fire in the library and explosion in the laboratory. Maybe playing it. We'll see. I haven't actually gotten to the playing thing.
We've gotten so chatty today that we don't end up doing our plans.
Oh, thanks,
Oh,
Bez.
Bez has I was gonna say Bez has the info.
Okay, I'm doing that and then. Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. It's gonna do the thing. But yeah, we'll see you in about an hour then. And Heather, it has been awesome talking to you.
It was so great talking to you. Thanks so much. And then I guess I'll see everybody later.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Rest of your weekend.
Bye.
And we're just waiting until it raid's over, which could happen any second. So, okay, now it's saying I can raid anytime. Cool. Bye. Thank you. And yeah, I sure did. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this one.